46%. Chapter 121. Seeing such a sudden change, the 2,000 disciples of Qianyuanzong looked at each other, and the atmosphere in the entire Qianyuanzong became tense, like a volcano about to erupt. Hengqing, who hadn't reacted for a while, looked out of the hall in confusion. When Fu Bingying saw her disciple Yang Linger suddenly wounded and abandoned to cultivation base, an anger surged in her heart, and she also looked at the figure outside the hall. Junior brother Heng, you still have such a hesitating character. These people will deal with them as they violate the rules. What's the hesitation? Outside the door, a young man with a cold face and a strong figure walked in with the 9 people behind him. It was Ren Guan and others who returned to Sect. The quarrel that occurred in the Great Hall just now and the quarrel between Fu Bingying and Hengqing had long been heard by Ren Guan and others who had returned to Sect. How could they have not walked to the Great Hall of the Sect for so long after returning to Sect? It's just that Ren Guan and the others heard their voices being discussed in the hall, and they didn't appear for the time being. The 9 people who were behind Ren Guan had just escaped from the crisis of life and death and survived. I saw myself Sect leader came back and got rid of the monster. I was full of joy, and I thought that when they came back, I must appreciate the admiration of these fellows in the next Sect. As a result, they didn't expect that when they came back, what they heard was not the gratitude and praise from their clan members, but the slander and insult to them and the Renguan who took them to the front line. Several of the violent ones drew out their long swords at their waists, and rushed in to kill the group of ungrateful white-eyed wolves. Especially Wang Ling, who was saved by Li Fan between life and death. In order to give these colleagues in Qianyuanzong a longer time, he exploded and overdrawn the spirit power of his body, and left the team alone to lead away the monster. It can be said that he has resignedly accepted the ending of his death. At that time, he had fear, and regret in his heart, but he had never regretted it. What he was thinking at the time was that he must not betray the cultivation of Qianyuanzong and Li Fan, and the trust of other colleagues in the clan. He was willing to face the terrifying monster by himself in order to give his own family a little more chance to survive. But he didn't expect to return to Sect until he discovered that own behavior is a joke in the eyes of others. Wang Ling's warm heart became cold, frigid, and disappointed. At a critical moment, Ren Guan stopped several people who wanted to do something. He wanted to see how Fu Bingying, who had faintly expressed a different meaning before he left, would deal with such a thing. He wanted to know what Fu Bingying's attitude towards Qianyuanzong had in the absence of Li Fan. Until the end, he saw Fu Bingying, who prevented Hengqing from implementing the rules, and used righteous public opinion to oppress Hengqing, and shook his head. In the end, he made a bold move and abolished the 5 people neatly. Hall Master Ren, how dare you personally hurt the same door inside the door, and also abolish their cultivation base? In this perilous outside world, isn't this tantamount to extinguishing their hope of survival and putting them to death? Fu Bingying helped Yang Linger, who fell on the ground, and fed her a medicine pill. After her injury was stabilized, she watched Ren Guan walk into the Great Hall step by step and said angrily. Ren Guan glanced at her coldly, without speaking. Fu Bingying looked unhappy, and said, Hallmaster, do you want to intensify the contradictions in Sect? Noisy. Ren Guan snorted coldly without even looking at Fu Bingying. Fu Bingying was choked by Ren Guan's words and looked at Ren Guan bitterly. She did not expect that Li Fan was missing and Qianyuanzong had just escaped from the crisis. Ren Guan dared to act so domineering, and didn't care what she and the other disciples in the clan thought, so he directly abolished a few people. They were just agitated for a while, and they said a few words of speculation. No matter how powerful this is, Yazi will report it, fierce and vicious. You have to know that there are as many as 1,600 disciples who have just thought of this. No matter how powerful you are, it is impossible to be an enemy of the entire sect. But now it is also a good opportunity. This Renguan offends most people in Sect, and there is no news from Li Fan for so long. If she wins people's hearts now, maybe she can. After all, she chose to join Li Fan to save the lives of her disciples. Now Li Fan is gone, and there is no one in Qianyuanzong who can resist the tripod. This Ren Guan acted so aggressively and domineeringly, she naturally worried that her disciples of Cold Water Sect would be persecuted by him. It is better for her to control Qianyuanzong, and there are many resources here. If she can get these resources, she can better protect her sect. Thinking that Fu Bingying was not talking here, she just looked at Ren Guan quietly. She wanted to see what Ren Guan planned to do. Ren Guan walked to Hengqing's side and nodded to Hengqing. Seeing his calm expression, Hengqing calmed down his nervousness. Regardless, he was originally not good at handling this kind of sect things. Let this kind of thing be left to Ren Guan, as long as he firmly supports his own friends. Ren Guan turned his head and scanned the Great Hall for a while, and said, I know that many of you are uncomfortable now. Some of you look down on me, some think I am greedy and fearful of death, and some think I act harshly and domineeringly. But that's okay. I usually feel that I'm rigid and strict and have complaints against me. But you slandered the group of people behind me who fought for Qian Yuanzong and even willingly gave up their lives. Without them, you might have been killed by that monster a long time ago. Even if you were rescued afterwards, you might have been so scared that you were rolling all over the floor. Quote. Ren Guan shouted. So remember, you people, know you trash are not qualified to laugh at and slander those who are desperately protecting this sect. After Ren Guan finished speaking, there was an uproar below. Many people glared angrily and scolded their Ren Guan loudly, and some even wanted to act on them. However, some people also heard the key point in Ren Guan's words, Hall Master Ren, what do you mean by being rescued afterwards? What happened to the monster outside of the clan just now? The monster is dead, Ren Guan replied. What, dead? Could it be that Hall Master Ren and the others killed it? How is it possible? Ren Guan must be holding on, that monster can't die. Yes, I guess that monster has the strength of an 8 realm, let alone Ren Guan, even if all of us in the whole clan play together, it may not be able to fight. Ren Guan cleared his throat and calmly said, Don't guess, it was sect leader who came back and killed him. Hearing Ren Guan's words, the entire Great Hall fell silent. Fu Bingying, who stood by and waited for a good show, also changed her expression. Ren Guan continued. After sect leader killed the monster just now, he has already set out to find the rest of the monster's accomplices, and plans to solve them all at once. Before, it was because of the unique aura of that monster that had enveloped Qian Yuanzong, which caused the news of the talisman not to be sent back. At this time, the news of sect leader should also be sent back, so why don't you take the talisman I gave you and take a good look at Fu Da sect leader? Quote. What? Fu Bingying's face was shocked. She quickly took out the jade talisman and looked at it. This glance left her in a daze. After a long time, she recovered and murmured, Sect leader, he is back. At this time, she confirmed the news of Li Fan's return. Her heart was mixed, and she couldn't tell what it was like for a while. Originally, it was reasonable to say that this was a good thing, but she was uneasy in her heart. Hearing Fu Bingying's confirmation of what Ren Guan said, no strange words came out in the hall. Everyone was quiet. However, Ren Guan continued self-consciously. This incident happened suddenly, but it also allowed us Qian Yuanzong to see a lot of things. When sect leader returns everything, I will truthfully report it. People with merit must not chill their heart. Merit will be rewarded, of course, as for others. Ren Guan paused for a while and didn't say anything. Before this time, all the people who questioned Ren Guan had their faces as earthy and ugly as if they had eaten flies, and they closed their mouths and said nothing. For fear of being noticed by Ren Guan. The mob, that's it. Suddenly there was a word that Li Fan had said to him that he had never heard before, and sighed. 46%. Chapter 122. In the lush and dense forest, a misty figure flickered in the forest. Their positions have changed, so it will save me trouble. Li Fan asked for a breath of guidance from his fingertips. At this moment, a day has passed since Li Fan killed Cecil. During this time, Li Fan didn't stop for a moment, searching for the breath that Cecil gave him after his death. Finally, in his perception, the breaths closest to him that were of the same origin as Cecil were in front of him. Li Fan stopped by a deserted cliff. At the foot of the mountain, there was a hidden and cramped hole. He carefully pulled away the branches and leaves that blocked his vision and opened the broken holy pupil. It looks like he is in the place. In the dark cave, 3 shadowy figures gathered together. The outermost figure made a sharp, harsh sound. Boys, it's better if you have something important to call us over. You must know that we are now following Venerable's guidance to continue to build the Mist Soul Array secretly. It is very busy. If you delay Venerable's will, you know the consequences. Quote. When the figure named Powis heard the word Venerable, his body trembled, but he still said firmly, Cecile is dead. There was no sound in the murky cave to respond to it. Powis continued. You know, my awakened talent has a strong sense of imminent danger. Since Cecil's death, I have been feeling uneasy and panic, as if being stared at by something. I'm worried that anyone who can kill Cecil will come to us. Quote. This is your guess. Do you know the real situation of Cecil's death? No, you have to believe me. Cecile's death should be just an accident. In this small domain, nothing can threaten it, so instead of worrying about this illusory thing, it is better to think about how to quickly get rid of the Kanglan domain. The layout of the destruction continues to be perfected. Otherwise, Venerable's anger is what you need to worry about. Quote. A dull voice interrupted Powys. But Cecil is indeed dead, don't you worry at all. Worry. There is nothing to worry about. I took the amulet from Venerable. According to what you said, if the person who killed Cecil really dared to find him, I wouldn't mind crushing him directly. A wood carving rode the size of a cobblestone in his hand. I'm saying, we can't find the person, we exist. You worry too much. The amulet it carries contains Venerable's one-stroke power. As long as the cultivator of the first three realms of the ordinary realm encounters this power, there is no possibility of being able to resist it. So it sneered at Boyce's worries. Hearing what Amo said, Boyce, who had been thinking about it in his heart, had nothing to say. Although he was very worried about Cecil's death, it was more worried than the Venerable on their heads. What kind of punishment is imposed on it? Outside the cave, Li Fan looked at the three sneaky figures in the cave faintly, and smiled faintly. It looks like it is at the same level as the goat monster, there is nothing to worry about. Li Fan's figure moved, holding the flying star thunder knife in his hand. The sword struck forward vertically and horizontally, smashing the entire cave into pieces. Although it is not a problem for him to deal with the few things in the cave, Li Fan still doesn't want to rush in directly. If he steps on some trap, it will be no good if the ship capsizes in the gutter. It's better to draw them out and kill the extravagant branches of the province in one fell swoop. Come out. Li Fan saw three figures emerging from the hole, and said lightly, these guys. How come they are so ugly? Li Fan couldn't help but spit out in his heart. With the perspective effect of his illusion-breaking holy pupil being able to penetrate the obstacles, he had actually seen the rough appearance of the three monsters when he secretly observed it just now. But because of the dim light, he only saw these three things that looked a little strange, but he didn't expect to grow like this. A figure made up of a pool of black slime, a figure with a human shape but 7 arms inserted randomly on the body, and a figure like a crab, but with a dark shell. The two giants are bigger than the body and are covered with giants. Prick. In Li Fan's view, these three figures are very similar to the weirdness in the mist, but the subtleties look a little different. This difference makes Li Fan unable to tell why, but he just feels that they are different from those weird who only know to wander in the mist. Rumbling. The rock collapsed and the turbulent dust slowly dissipated. The three figures stood on top of the ruined cave and looked at each other. They couldn't help but think at the same time, is there really someone who is so innocent, come to look for them? Where are the people? The three of Amos searched around, but they couldn't find a trace. Li Fan displayed the magical powers of Qianyuan shrinking the ground, his illusory figure concealed in the void, and he looked at three strange monsters who looked at each other with some bewilderment with interest. He is also really curious about these existences of unknown origin. What is the relationship between these monsters and the weirdness in the fog? The announcement issued by the system this time, whether there are a number of regional outbreak crises that are completely occupied by weird fog souls, is it also related to a few of them? Is there someone standing behind them? For Li Fan, these questions are clues to the world's problems and secrets. These answers are very important for the future development of him and Qian Yuanzong. He must at least know what the real danger of the world he is facing is before he can respond effectively. Otherwise, you really don't know how to die, just like Song Yu and her Jinling Zong, who were still alive and laughing with him a few days ago, died when they said they were gone. Thinking of this, Li Fan decided to capture these monsters alive. But I have to solve a little trouble before again. Li Fan looked at the 7-armed monster in the middle. He felt some different breaths in the monster, a sense of fear that made him feel a little cold and could threaten his life. Li Fan activated Sacred Eye Breaker and carefully looked at the 7-armed monster, carefully looking for the breath that made him feel terrified. Suddenly, his pupils shrank, found it. Li Fan stared closely at one of the arms on the monster's body, a wooden sculpture with scarred blood red in it and a brown body. The breath that makes me feel threatened is emanating from this wood carving. Li Fan didn't understand the secret of the wood carving, but it didn't hinder his plan, no matter what it means. Anyway, just kill this guy who seems the most threatening first. 3 monsters, killing 1 and 2, does not affect the plan. Li Fan mobilized the abundant true essence in his body and pinched the thunder seal with one hand. Suddenly, the sky above Li Fan and the 3 monsters on the collapsed cave became gloomy, and there was thunder turbulence in the thick dark clouds. Since he opened the door, in his body and transformed all the power in his body into the true essence of the foundation building realm, he can now master the 5 thunder supernatural powers without using the spell, which is much more convenient. Go. 3 thunders of different colors were entwined together and merged into a bead of thunder, falling from the sky and hitting the 7-armed monster directly. The crackling sound rang beside Powys, and it suddenly looked at Amo beside him. I saw Amor, who was taunting him for being too worried in the cave just now with a venerable reward amulet on his body. Suddenly a black cloud exploded beside it, and he didn't even use the amulet in his hand. Amor. Dead. Powys and the black slime monster were frightened. 47%. Chapter 123 2 slaps. They didn't even see where the enemy was, and they had already broken one person first. At this time, the hearts of the 2 of Powys were filled with fear. The 2 monsters looked at each other, their bodies dissolved in the mist and fled in opposite directions. What a joke. The strength of these people is about the same level, and now Amor is suddenly attacked in front of them, and even the amulet given by Amor is smashed together with the venerable. Originally, if the amulet was not damaged, they could stimulate the venerable power in the amulet. There might still be a chance to come back, but now there is no more hope. They can only escape as much as possible. Hurry up and report the matter here to Venerable. There is a powerful cultivator who knows our plan. Powys thought in their hearts. Li Fan saw that the monster in the middle that gave him a sense of threat was killed by him, and his figure was revealed, and he chased the 2 monsters that fled. Interestingly, these monsters don't seem to have low IQs. If they can't beat them, they know how to run. They feel much smarter than those weird in the muddy fog. Li Fan moved Qianyuan to shrink the ground extremely fast, and quickly caught up with the monster whose body was entirely composed of black slime while the figure flickered. The slime monster's figure dissolves in the mist and flees madly, but it still can't stop Li Fan from getting closer and closer. Why is this bastard chasing me so fast? Why doesn't he chase that bastard boys? If it were not for that bastard, Amo and I would not come to him, nor would we encounter this powerful cultivator. The slime monster cursed in his heart Powys who led him into danger, and stopped. There is no way. It is not that he gave up and continues to escape, but Li Fan has already come to him at this time. He understands that he seems to be unable to escape today. It seems I can only work hard. The slime monster's body surface kept squirming, making a gurgling sound like boiling hot water, and its stature expanded from 3 meters to more than 10 meters, comparable to a small building. With a bang, the viscous liquid of more than 10 meters exploded violently, turning into black sharp arrows to shoot towards Li Fan in front of it. This method is a bit interesting. Li Fan felt very surprised when he saw the slime monster in front of him turn his entire body into sharp arrows and hit him. A tall spiritual earth shield was condensed in front of Li Fan, and a large number of black sharp arrows hit the thick earth shield, and quickly blasted the earth shield. Turn every part of Own into a means of attack, then I can smash these black sharp arrows to kill it. Li Fan thought in his heart. The flying star thunder knife in his hand flew, and the black arrow in the space of 3 feet all crushed. The black arrows smashed by Li Fan piled up at his feet, and then turned into drops of mucus and fell on the ground. Bang bang bang. As time went by, the black arrows all over the sky soon became less than 1/3, and the rest were smashed by Li Fan, but the black arrows in the sky still didn't stop for a moment. Continue to do such useless work. But the mucus that fell on Li Fan's feet creeped quietly. At this time, all the black sharp arrows in the sky shattered silently in the air and then gathered, forming a giant spear glowing with black light to shoot at Li Fan. Li Fan narrowed his eyes, glanced at the thick, slowly squirming black slime under his feet and smiled. He no longer paid attention to the mucus under his feet, and the long knife in his hand flashed 36 knife shadows, point the blue knife. Faxing Li Guang knife slashed on the extremely sharp spear that came from the lacing, just like a hot knife cutting butter, without the slightest hindrance to split the spear. The split spear exploded over Li Fan's head, turning into a raindrop of mucus and pounced on Li Fan. And the long gathered black slime under Li Fan's feet also suddenly rose, turning into a big net to wrap Li Fan's whole person. This arrogant cultivator is nothing more than that. Some of you who are covered by my black refining net will suffer. The slime monster's figure slowly condensed in the distance, but the thick and thick slime on its body. At this time, it was a little thin, and the tall figure before was shrunk a lot, only 1 meter in size. It's a pity that it's still difficult to eliminate that cultivator just because of this. The slime monster felt that the cultivator's breath was not half weakened in the black chain formed by its body splitting and condensing, but it was still strong as before, and there was a bit of hatred in his heart. The slime monster said cruelly in his heart, let's leave now, and report the matter to Venerable when I go back, and let Venerable take the action to wipe out this guy who has broken my clan plan several times. Then he turned around and left. I won't keep watching. Where are you going in such a hurry? A faint voice sounded in the ears of the slime monster, shaking its whole body in shock. It turned its head and looked at it, and the cultivator that had just been trapped by its black refining net suddenly appeared in front of it. At the same time, a thunder net made up of burning flames enveloped its body, which was only more than 1 meter long. Come and not go indecently. Li Fan glanced at the slime monster shrunk in the thunder net in front of him and smiled. This trick turned the magical power of mastering the 5 thunder into a thunder net trapping people. The method was also inspired by the big black net he saw that monster trapped him. Before he was covered by the big black slime net, he had noticed the small movements of this monster under his feet, but he didn't expect this monster to split itself. If it hadn't been for the breath of this slime monster in Akamatsu's chi searching technique appeared not far from him, he would have almost escaped by this guy. Li Fan kept shrinking the thunder net until it was the size of a slap. At this time, all the slime on the slime monster in the thunder net had been melted, leaving only a fist-sized mud-like substance in the core, motionless. It looked like it was dead. Don't pretend to be dead, just say something. Did not get any response. So Li Fan controlled the thunder net and released an electric light bomb on the slime monster. Still nothing happens. It looks like it's dead. In this case, it's useless to keep this bunch of things. Eliminate all of them, Li Fan muttered to himself, flashing lightning in his hand, as if to crush and melt all the muddy matter in the lightning net. Don't. A weak, childlike voice came from the muddy substance. Li Fan heard this voice and ignored it, holding the palm-sized thunder net in his hand, turning his head and chasing after another breath directed by Chisong Shishun. After half an hour, Li Fan looked at the 2 palm-sized thundernets on the ground and said, now we can talk. Among the 2 thundernets, the slime monster and the black hermit crab-like monster that had shrunk to the size of a slap shrank in the corner and looked at each other. Actually found a feeling of pity for the same disease. 47%. Chapter 124 Rumors 1,000 years ago. Where did you come from? What does it have to do with the weirdness in the mist? Li Fan asked at the 2 monsters in front of him. After a friendly exchange with him just now, he found that the 2 guys in front of him were stiff-mouthed. No matter what he asked, the 2 monsters didn't say a word. No way, Li Fan could only keep increasing the voltage on them, until the 2 monsters were getting smaller and smaller, and they were dying to the point of dying. Li Fan stopped and asked again. Powis was scorched, with bursts of charcoal aroma on his body, and said in a hoarse voice, don't dream, we won't say anything. Sooner or later, you despicable cultivators will be eliminated by our race. This world belongs to my race. You. Boom. A cyan thunder as thick as a tree descended from the sky, blasting Powis in the thunder net, and blasting him and the ground under him to shards. Li Fan coldly glanced at the slime monster in the thunder net on the other side, and said lightly, my patience is limited. The slime monster made a trembling voice, will you let me go after I said? Li Fan glanced at it and smiled kindly, of course. Not anymore, what do you think? When the slime monster heard Li Fan's words, he fell silent, as if he didn't know what to say. After hesitating for a while, he trembled and said, my race will live forever. The holy race will live forever. You. Boom. Another thunder fell, smashing the slime monster that hadn't finished speaking. Li Fan's fingertips flashed lightly, and a trace of loneliness appeared on his face. Sure enough, the plots on TV where villain just asks villain to tell his secrets are all deceptive. I'm still only suitable for being a killer of the feelings. If I had the skill of the Thunder King, I wouldn't be unable to ask anything. Quote. Li Fan shook his head, confirmed that the next 2 monsters were really dead, and returned to Qian Yuanzong. In the Great Hall of Qian Yuanzong, Li Fan sat on the hall and glanced over the disciples below, without any fluctuations in expression on his face. After he returned to the sect, he had learned about these events in the Qianyuan sect during his absence from the mouths of more than 100 inner disciples in Renguan, Hengqing, and the sect. The hearts of the people in the clan are uneven, and each of the original disciples of sect has become a small group. The Hanshui sect, Wuyang sect, and Zhuiri Palace, who were accepted into Qianyuan sect by him, all had their own minds. When sect is in crisis, everyone just wants to protect themselves, no one cares about sect's life or death. Even Fu Bingyiang of the Cold Water School seemed to have some other thoughts. Li Fan was disappointed. Although he knew that these people might not be loyal to Qian Yuanzong after they entered Qian Yuanzong, they might not have a sense of belonging to Qian Yuanzong. After all, they weren't the people he had cultivated. But what he thought at the time was that as long as Qian Yuanzong developed slowly, these people could grow up with Sect and establish a good and fair promotion system within the clan. Given enough benefits, as long as there is no shortage of spiritual resources and medicine pill, it should be possible to slowly cultivate the loyalty of people like them. But he didn't expect that with so many spirit stones and medicine pills, less than 1/10 of these people stood up when Qian Yuanzong was in crisis. Except for his original team of more than 100 inner disciples, the more than 1,900 people he absorbed were foreign cultivators. Only a mere 100 people stood up, willing to share the adversity with Qian Yuanzong. So many resources in the clan are really wasted. However, at that time, he was willing to accept these people mainly to achieve the Ascension Sect rank, and there was no huge city like the Qingjing Palace in Qianyuanzong and other remote areas to allow him to recruit disciples. That's why it made the best move. Sure enough, all the drawbacks are now exposed. But fortunately, the accident now is stronger than the latter, at least not causing a big mistake, thanks to Sect's two co-directors Guan and Hengqing, and the inner disciple who are most loyal to him. Now that he has formed an alliance with Qingjing Palace, the subsequent recruitment of disciples is that the matter has also settled, and the accumulated ills of Qian Yuanzong should also be dealt with. After Li Fan solved the three monsters, he activated the Wanli shuttle and went to the Purity Palace. Before he suddenly remembered that there was no contact information on both sides. So I went there again, but fortunately, he took the initiative to find the door. After seeing Li Fan, Jinning, the Lord of the Palace of Purity, and the others, the expressions on their faces were extremely wonderful, as if they had discovered something novel. Pulling him to ask questions, Li Fan only knew at the end of the conversation that after he entered the ruins near the Qingjing Palace disappeared. Even the people in the Purity Palace knew that the teleportation formation in the ruins was of extremely high rank, and Li Fan probably didn't know where it would be teleported. They thought they might not see Li Fan later, and the agreement they had just negotiated might also be invalidated. Unexpectedly, in just a few days, Li Fan would come back. This made them refresh their knowledge of Li Fan's strength, and felt that he was even more unfathomable. Li Fan went to finalize the alliance between the two parties this time. The previous conditions remained unchanged and a new alliance was added. That is the weird crisis that may appear in the Kanglan region. In the news that Li Fan learned from the system a few days ago, the Kanglan domain had broken the layout of such a monster because he had gone to the Redridge Stone Forest. The Kanglan region didn't fall into the crisis of the massive recovery of fog and weirdness, but the southern Moon Valley region above the Red Ridge Stone Forest in the Kanglan region had a crisis. At the beginning, the system noticed that there were 7 domains because it failed to destroy the layout of those monsters, which caused the concentration of fog to increase drastically. Among them, all the weirdness in these regions awakened, and they got rid of the suppression of these weird by one region. And the southern Moon Valley region is also among these 7 regions. Through the conversation with Qingjing Gong Jinning, Li Fan found that Ji Ning had clearly discovered these things, and couldn't help but sigh that Sect, the overlord who has dominated the Kanglan region for a long time, is really extraordinary. The news channels extend in all directions, and these things that happened outside the Kanglan domain can't escape their eyes. Through Ji Ning's words, Li Fan learned some secrets. They also have some understanding of these weirdness and the fog that seems to spread endlessly throughout the world. According to Ji Ning, the Kanglan region they were in was just a small region in the vast wilderness. These small domains like the Kanglan domain in the vast wilderness contain the power to obliterate and reduce the fog. This kind of power is a means to continuously dissipate the denser and denser mist. Li Fan caught the words that made him feel a little unexpected, more and more dense fog. He asked Ji Ning, could it be that the concentration of fog in this area is constantly increasing? Li Fan got Ji Ning's affirmative answer. That's right. Not only the Kanglan region, the concentration of mist in the entire wild vast region and even the entire star realm is constantly ascension. It is said that there was no such thing as a large number of weird sweeps and attacks in the original universe of stars only when weird tides came. In the previous universe, it was weird that they were fighting with sect forces and cultivators in every region all the time. There is an endless army of weird in every region and every piece of land. It was equivalent to a weird tide every day. At that time, the entire universe of stars was shrouded in despair. Until a certain day 1,000 years ago, extremely violent fluctuations appeared in the sky across the astral realm, as if powerful creatures were fighting outside the astral realm that they could not see. At that time, there were many powerful cultivators who wanted to go to the sky to explore the source of the revealed tyrannical aura. As a result, they were blasted into pieces by the aftermath of the sky as soon as they flew into the sky. That was the cultivator at the pinnacle of the legendary Tao realm, but it was as vulnerable as an ordinary stone, and it was easily shattered, which was terrifying. There was no cultivator daring to explore further, and the violent fluctuations above the sky gradually subsided, and a red glow fell from the sky, covering the entire universe of stars. And those rays of light were scattered on every area of the star realm, suppressing the fog and weirdness in the area. After that, the entire universe of stars also ushered in a moment of respite. Quote. Li Fan was shocked when he heard what Ji Ning said. Although Ji Ning said this kind of thing was also heard from the past, and he could not take it seriously as he saw it from the mere words in ancient books. But Li Fan felt that this matter was indeed somewhat credible. After all, this can also explain some of the doubts that have always existed in his mind. Obviously these mists seem to have enveloped the world, but the weirdness in the mists is not that strong in his opinion. At most it is the strength of the peaks of the martial arts, and even the weirdness of the strength of the Tao realm is invisible. Except for the 5 monsters he encountered and beheaded that were of the same origin with the weird. According to those monsters, although they look strange, they are not a species at all, but they seem to be of the same family. In addition, for him in the realm on the 5th floor of the Foundation building, it seems that nothing in the Kanglan domain can threaten him. This is ridiculous. A small path cultivator, the fog that suppresses the entire planetary realm cultivator and human beings with no room for survival, is not a threat to him. So how can these weirdness have existed in this world for so long and have not been cleared yet? Now it seems that the reason for this fog and weirdness being suppressed by a tyrannical existence is somewhat reasonable. And now that many fog concentrations below the medium level have begun to ascension a lot, then it should be that the power that can attenuate and reduce the fog in that area is exhausted, or destroyed. Thinking of the land engraved with twisted runes he saw in the Redridge Stone Forest, Li Fan also had a guess in his heart. It seems that what those monsters do is to eliminate the power that can suppress the fog and weirdness. Let their so-called clan see the sky again and completely occupy the universe of stars. 48%. Chapter 126 Reward for those with merit. Li Fan learned about these rumors that he had never heard from Ji Ning, and felt a little depressed in his heart. However, these millennia-old rumors are still too far away for them. After all, they have a 5th-rank sect and a 6th-rank sect, which are completely insignificant in the entire universe of stars. No matter how much I know, I still can't solve it in the end. Now the only way to guarantee their continued survival is to continue the ascension strength. Strength realm's ascension can also give them a bit of chance to survive in the future when they are really facing danger. Li Fan greeted Ji Ning and made it clear that he might come back to Kiran City to recruit disciples in a while. Ji Ning has no doubts, this kind of thing is completely trivial, and Li Fan's desire to accept disciples will not affect them. Then it is to convene the rest of the sect forces in the Kanglan region to discuss together, establish a line of defense against the weird army that may come from the southern Moon Valley to ensure the safety of the Kanglan region. The lips are dead and the teeth are cold. Now the Nanyu Gaiyu next to them is in crisis. If their sect forces in the Kanglan region do not join hands, they will wait until the Kanglan region is also completely occupied by the weird. The power of the Kanglan region can suppress the mist, disappear. Then the Kanglan region is over. Finally, before Li Fan left, Ji Ning also asked Li Fan for one thing. That is what Ji Ning has been thinking about in the 10 territory grand competition. He wanted to ask Li Fan to help him and compete for the domain master of the Kanglan territory. Li Fan simply understood the things of the 10 territory competition. Seeing that it had no effect on him, he agreed. After all, the Purity Palace has given him so much convenience. As an ally, he can't just enjoy the benefits and not pay. This kind of thing should be helped. Otherwise, if you want to ask the Qingjing Palace for help when something happens in the future, people won't pay attention to him. However, the benefits are naturally well distributed. If Li Fan helps Ji Ning become the domain owner, every year Ji Ning signs the domain owner's warrant that can establish a new sect and other resources harvested, spirit stones, and Li Fan can also pass. Enough to get 40%. According to Ji Ning's estimation, there can be almost 1 million spirit stones in income a year. This amount of spirit stones is also a long-term income for Li Fan, which is not bad. After confirming that the big competition is still some time away, Li Fan also returned to Qian Yuanzong first. Time has returned just now. Li Fan considered how to deal with Sect's ills in the Great Hall of Qian Yuanzong. The expressions on the faces of more than 2,000 disciples in the audience were different. Some are nervous, some are excited, and some are calm and don't know what they are thinking. Sect leader, this is what happened with Sect recently. Fu Bingying, Heng Qing, and Ren Guan talked about the latest events in the Great Hall. Although Li Fan had already known those things, he had to do something about it, and Li Fan had made a decision in his heart. Yeah, get out. Li Fan's flat voice came out, and he couldn't hear the joy or anger. Ren Guan and Heng Qing stood quietly aside, but Fu Bingying felt like a man on her back at the moment, and she wanted to say something. Li Fan glanced at her, then coldly said, "What I said, did Sect leader Fu hear me?" Looking at Li Fan, Fu Bingying felt the unfathomable aura of Li Fan, and she squatted, "Listen. I heard it." She lowered her head and retreated a little ugly, and stood in front of the disciple of the cold water school. Fu Bingying lowered her head and remembered that when she met Li Fan for the first time, Li Fan was still a cultivator who had just entered the first floor of Zhangji. Realm was much worse than her. Qian Yuanzong was only an 8th grade sect. That's it. But at that time, Li Fan had already revealed extraordinary potential. He was a powerful man. With the help of Realm, he was able to cut 10 places in a row. Realm was even more weird than him. After defeating the alienated Wuyang sect leader Song Fu, she turned the tide on her own and rescued her cold water sect. Since then, her Hanshui sect has become a subsidiary sect of Qian Yuanzong. Although after becoming a subsidiary sect, everyone in her cold water sect including her own life and death was between Li Fan's thoughts, but Li Fan still treated her without being unruly, humble and polite. Not only did he not squeeze the disciples of the cold water sect, but also treated the disciples of the cold water sect and Qian Yuanzong equally. All kinds of cultivation techniques, spells, medicine pill, as long as you have enough contribution points, you can redeem and use them, insight. Even the realm, which she has reached from the 5th floor of the Zhangzhang realm to the 9th floor of the Aperture realm, was achieved with the resources given by Li Fan, which saved her years of hard cultivation. But now everything can't go back. This time she chose to hide behind and even flee because she was worried that her cold water sect disciple would be killed by a monster attacking Qian Yuanzong. This can be said to have offended Li Fan. But she didn't feel that she was wrong. As a sect leader of Sect, she put the life of her sect disciple first. What was wrong with her? She just wanted to take everyone to live, nothing more. Thinking of this, Fu Bingying's restlessness gradually calmed down. She didn't think there was anything wrong with her approach. This time it was Li Fan who rushed back at a critical moment without any destruction. But if Li Fan didn't rush back in time, she couldn't use the lives of more than 300 people under her to bet on this probability. If this kind of thing happened again, she would still make this choice, and she would not regret it. This time Qian Yuanzong is almost in danger of being in crisis. As a sect leader, I have an inescapable responsibility. If it hadn't been for me to be trapped and wasted time because of some things, the 24 disciples in the clan would not have died. Once again, I would like to solemnly apologize for the 20 or so disciples who died. You are all the heroes of Qian Yuanzong, and you have contributed to Qian Yuanzong's ability to survive this crisis. Quote. Li Fan got up and gave a deep salute to the graves of the 20 or so disciples who had died. Ren Guan, Heng Qing, and more than 100 inner disciples are the same, bowing deeply with Li Fan. After a while, Li Fan continued. Of course, this time Zongne Renguan led the 9 disciples as bait to lure the monster away and rescue Qian Yuanzong from distress. They also contributed. Ren Guan, Wang Ling, Guan Xiao, Gan Quan. 10 people, each rewarded Sect for 10,000 points, a 3rd rank technique, a 4th rank spiritual tool, and 50,000 spirit stones. All of them were promoted except for Ren Guan. As inner disciple, Li Fan took out 10 storage bags and handed them to Ren Guan and others. Thanks, Sect leader. The 10 people saluted in unison, and their faces were full of joy. 50,000 spirit stones are a huge fortune for everyone, not to mention the few remaining good things that spirit stones can't buy. 48%. Chapter 126 Eventful Autumn. The 3rd rank magic technique, the 4th rank magic weapon, and the precious 10,000 sect contribution points. These 10,000 contribution points are enough for each of them to understand the knowledge environment plus all the expenses of the medicine pill in the Guanli environment, and even more. The final inner disciple identity made the 5 new entry outer sect disciples ecstatic, whether it was the inner disciple redeeming contribution points for the discount of practice resources, or all the magic techniques and martial skills in the clan. You can refer to it at any time without restrictions, which is of great benefit to them. And most importantly, they felt that at this moment they truly integrated into the Qianyuan sect and became a member of the sect. The 9 people around Ren Guan took the storage bag from Li Fan and looked at the envy and jealous eyes of the other fellow students. They only felt like drinking a large glass of cold well water on a hot summer day. After distributing the rewards, seeing the people in Ren Guan retreat, the faint smile on Li Fan's face also converged, turning a bit chilly. Now that the rewards are finished, then it's time to clean up Qian Yuanzong. I heard that there were many things that weren't done well in the arrangement of the clan master to handle the affairs of the clan. It aroused people's dissatisfaction and injured several disciples in the clan. Who knows whether this matter can be followed? I'll talk about it, Li Fan said lightly. Hearing Li Fan's words, many people under sect showed gloating expressions on their faces. Many people looked at Ren Guan quietly, thinking quietly in their hearts. Sure enough, is Ren Guan going to be punished? HMPH, you are usually so arrogant and arrogant. This time you even abolished the disciples in front of everyone in sect, and you finally aroused the dissatisfaction of sect leader. This Ren Guan should have been punished a long time ago. Isn't it a good time to enter the clan earlier than us, and become a hall master? What is arrogant? I don't think he can become a hall master this time. Pity my junior sister, but only said a few guesses, so that Ren Guan smashed Dantian into a cultivation base. In the future, she can only become an ordinary person. Today, the culprit will also be punished due to it. Quote. Li Fan just sat quietly on the chair, watching all the disciples under him without speaking, and quietly waiting for them to speak out. Sure enough, at the beginning, no one dared to stand up and accuse Dan Tang Tang Director Guan, but it didn't take long for Li Fan to see that he really wanted to punish Ren Guan, and some people also stepped up to accuse Ren Guan of their evil deeds. It is like some mismanagement that caused the disciple in the clan to be killed by the monster for nothing, and he could not listen to the loyalty and recklessness. Just because a few disciples said a few jokes, the cultivation base of the 5 loyal disciples in the clan was abolished. Slowly, everyone came forward to accuse Ren Guan, saying as if the crisis that the monster brought to Qian Yuanzong this time was all caused by Ren Guan. They almost didn't say that the monster was with Ren Guan, and it was such a ridiculous thing that Ren Guan introduced. In the end, nonsense words such as using power for personal gain and rejoicing for personal gain came out. Some people suggested that Ren Guan was removed from the position of hall master, and the rewards of the 9 people who had been rewarded by Li Fan just now should also be taken back. Who else has the same inner disciple identity? They followed Ren Guan and took credit. They didn't help or contribute to this monster crisis. Those rewards should be given to those disciples who were injured by Ren Guan, or to them. All of a sudden, Ren Guan, the hero who was just now, was accused by Wan Fu, and fell into deep public opinion. The disciple of the cold water sect behind Fu Bingying also showed joy, and some of them whispered, Ren Guan, this guy with a human face and a beast heart has finally been punished, it's great. Sister Ling who is so good, was also abolished by that level of cultivation base. We should let sect leader also abolish that level and avenge Linger. Fu Bingying's face was contemplative. Shut your mouth. She reprimanded to the disciple behind her, and stopped the disciple behind her from talking. She felt that this matter was not that simple. And at this time, those 9 disciples who had just received Li Fan rewards with Ren Guan, their expressions were angry and clenched their fists. They looked at the evil talking guys beside them and wanted to slash them with their swords. When facing the danger from the outside, this group of people only promised, no one dared to stand up to resist the terrifying monster. Now that the crisis is over, they dared to attack those who faced the monster horror directly and drove the monster away. It was really disgusting. At the same time, they are also a little scared, afraid that Li Fan will be really confused by what these people say, thinking that Ren Guan is really a scum who harms his fellow students and is so happy. I'm afraid that Li Fan thinks what they have paid for Qian Yuanzong has become worthless. They looked at Ren Guan and wanted him to explain a few words. However, Ren Guan looked nonchalant, turning a deaf ear to the accusations around him, and even began to close his eyes and calm his mind. This makes the hearts of those who firmly support Ren Guan and feel that Ren Guan is not wrong. At this time, Li Fan looked at the noisy great hall under the seat, and finally spoke. Well, I understand what you said just now. To put it simply, Ren Guan did harm his fellow clan, he didn't care about his fellow clan's life, and he killed many people because of his wrong judgment, right? Quote. Li Fan smiled and said, I announce that today I will withdraw my post as the head of the Quanton Hall, and Wang Ling will be in charge of the Dan Hall. As soon as this remark came out, the clan was shocked. Some people are ecstatic. They feel that with these people, they can finally disturb the situation in Qianyuanzong, and they finally get this eye in their eyes. Some people are uncomfortable with the unfair treatment they have suffered. Among them, Li Fan ordered Wang Ling, who is in charge of the Dantang, and his face was even more angry. He looked at Li Fan with disappointment and shouted, Sect leader, I forgive the disciple, forgive me, I don't have the ability to replace Ren Tang. Lord, Sect leader, choose another Gaoming. Wang Ling's words were angry, and it could be said that he refuted Li Fan's face fiercely, but he didn't have the slightest fear in his heart. Originally, Li Fan in his mind was the kind of wise and martial sect leader. When he faced a monster who was rescued by Li Fan between life and death, Li Fan was even more stalwart in his eyes. His respect for Li Fan has deepened a lot. However, he did not expect that Li Fan's behavior today disappointed him, his loyalty and traitor remained unchanged, and he was blinded by the facts. Such a sect and such a sect leader are not worthy of his work. Today, even if his Wang Ling is expelled from sect, he will not succumb to Li Fan's lust. Li Fan looked at Wang Ling's somewhat immature face full of anger and disdain for him, and the corners of his mouth twitched, but he didn't pay attention to it, but thought in his heart, there will be something good for you. Li Fan ignored the reprimands of Ren Guan and Wang Ling in the clan's twittering, and continued, Ren Guan removed the position of Dantang Hall Master, promoted to the position of deputy sect leader of Qian Yuanzong. Later, when I am not in the clan, the words are my words, do you understand? What? Why did Ren Guan not only not get punished, but also became a deputy sect leader? I don't accept it. That's it. Can a fellow in Qianyuanzong who casually harm his fellow sect also be a deputy sect leader? So I can, and I can kill a few people tomorrow. Li Fan glanced at Ren Guan beside him and smiled. Regarding this matter, Li Fan and Ren Guan Hengqing had long been angered. This time I was here specifically for fishing. Li Fan wanted to see what weird things could come out of the Qianyuanzong's water after he muddled it. Looking at it now, the water in this pool is really black. Ren Guan and Li Fan glanced at each other, got up and came to the person who utterly said that he would kill several people in the future and could become the deputy sect leader, and slapped him into the air. Dare to talk about sect leader, I think you really don't know how to write dead words. Ren Guan's body burst into an astonishing blood chi, and he stepped on that person, full of killing intent. Do you dare to commit crimes in public? Ren Guan's move caused many people in the clan to boil. They showed expressions of disbelief. Li Fan didn't bother to let this farce go on. I already know the cause and effect this time, and it's time to end this farce. The three new disciples of Wuyang Sect, Cherry Palace, and Hanshui Sect, who have newly entered my Qianyuan Sect, arbitrarily accused Hall Master Sect and I as the same sin. You people usually enjoy Sect's blessing and the supply of resources, but at the moment of Qian Yuanzong's crisis, you retreat behind others and don't have the slightest responsibility. Putting Sect is nothing. Just thinking about fleeing for your own life is two sins. In the end, you people are still unrepentant, never feel that your actions are wrong, and you dare to say that this is the third sin. Now, all the new disciples of Wuyangzong and Zhuiri Palace, except for the 200 disciples who stood with Qianyuanzong at the critical moment, are expelled from Sect. As for the Cold Water Sect, I announce the settlement of the contract with the sect affiliated to the Cold Water Sect. Quote. At this moment, the noisy Qianyuanzong Great Hall fell into a strange silence. Then someone wanted to speak out. Li Fan glanced at these people coldly. You seem to have forgotten how you joined my Qianyuanzong in the first place, and the sect leader of your sect didn't dare to speak so loudly to me. After speaking, Li Fan walked away. Only the people in the Great Hall who were shivering and looking at each other were expelled from Sect. Li Fan's last words woke them up. Yes, they are all the people who were forced to absorb Qian Yuanzong after Li Fan killed Sect. Suddenly they remembered the brutal appearance of Li Fan when he smoothed out their sect and killed their sect leader. The unwillingness and anger on everyone's face turned into fear and worry. They dare not say anything more. After being expelled from Sect by Qian Yuanzong's 5th rank sect, what should they do? They don't have the ability to obtain the domain master's order to build a new sect. And how can they survive in the endless weirdness and fog outside Sect without the protection of Qian Yuanzong? Suddenly, those whose sect was destroyed and expelled from Qian Yuanzong sect were all overwhelmed with despair and regret. The faces of Hans Haozong and others have richer expressions. Especially Fu Bingying. She felt a little bit of the cold water sect finally getting rid of the sense of liberation from the involuntary destiny of the subsidiary sect. There is some loss. After thinking about becoming an affiliated sect, her cold water sect was actually not given any help or contribution to Qian Yuanzong. Instead, Qian Yuanzong has been providing resources so that their cultivation base realm can get faster ascension. Although they can get it even after they leave Qian Yuanzong, can they still have such a good practice environment and resources in the future? At this time, some people in the cold water sect were disapproving on their faces, and talked with each other through voice transmission. What's so great, as if we were rushing to become this shit affiliate sect. That is, without us so many sect disciples, I think Qian Yuanzong might not even be able to withstand the next weird riot. They won't be arrogant for long. At this moment, Ren Guan suddenly turned his head, frightening Han Shuzong and the others. Although they were just talking to each other by voice, Ren Guan would definitely not be able to hear it, but looking at Ren Guan's cold eyes at this time, each of them was still filled with fear. Ren Guan walked towards them slowly, and for a while, the faces of people like them became more fearful, and Fu Bingying stood up. Blocking in front of Ren Guan, Lu Mei frowned and said, "Is there anything wrong with Vice Ren sect leader? My cold water sect has nothing to do with Qian Yuanzong. Do you still want to attack my disciples?" Ren Guan looked at Fu Bingying's pretentiously calm expression, and said, "I still remember that Fu sect leader received the treasure and secret skills given by sect leader Ascension, and we faced the gambling appointment with the three of Hengqing and I. At that time, President Fu was so heroic and admirable. I missed that time very much, but it was a pity that it was just over a month." Quote. Fu Bingying also showed some regrets on her face at this moment, but there is nothing to say at this point. If there is nothing wrong with Vice Sect Leader Ren, I will take my disciple to pack my luggage and go down the mountain. There is no need to mention these things. After Ren Guan finished speaking, he didn't stay anymore, turned and left. Finally that night, 1,700 people including Hanshui Sect, Wuyong Sect, Zuri Palace, etc., all left the gates of Qianyuan Sect, disappeared in the vast fog, without where they were going. Ren Guan and Hengqing stood in the Li Fan room and said in a deep voice, "Sect leader, those people have all left Sect, and the cultivation technique, martial skills they practiced in the clan are all in accordance with Sect leader's orders. Scrap it." Li Fan nodded, responded and let them leave. What Ren Guan said to abolish all the cultivation techniques and spells of those people in Qian Yuanzong is not to abolish all their cultivation base. Doing that is no different from killing those people. After all, it's the same family for a while. They used the talisman named Ice Soul Talisman exchanged by Li Fan with their merits, and they cleared away the memories of cultivation techniques and spells in Qian Yuanzong. It has no effect on them, just let their memory of those cultivation technique disappear. Next, it's time to go to the Qingjing Palace, and recruit some disciples again. This time, we must strictly set all the conditions for recruiting disciples. It is better to have a small number than to fill the number. Poor aptitude and weak talents do not matter, he can be cultivated, and character is the most important thing for him to Qian Yuanzong. Quote. The southern Moon Valley has fallen, and the strangeness has moved to the Kanglan region. 3 days later, the 100 sects of the Clean Palace Conference will discuss the matter of gathering all the forces in the Kanglan region to fight the invasion of the strange thing. I hope sect leader Li will come to discuss the matter together, Jinning. Put away the communication jade talisman. Li Fan raised his head and looked towards the north of Sect, muttering to himself. It's another eventful season. I just want to feel at ease and develop well. Why is it so difficult? 48%. Chapter 127. People can't forget their roots. 3 days passed in a flash. During these 3 days, Qian Yuanzong had huge personnel changes. It seemed that the clan was planting spiritual fields, exploring and patrolling the surrounding territories to kill the weirdness, and the manpower of the disciples of the Dantang Forging Hall was also severely lacking. Li Fan, together with Hengqing and Ren Guan, took a lot of time to settle these matters temporarily, leaving only some disciples outside the door who were basically responsible for patrolling Sect and taking care of Lingtian. Others, such as the 2 branch halls of Dantang and Forging Hall, as well as exploring the fog and clearing the weird things around Sect, also temporarily stopped. Because at present, although 90% of the disciples have been expelled from Li Fan in the Qianyuan clan, the resources in the clan will only supply more than 300 people when the number of people is reduced, which is completely enough. Now there is no need to continue refining medicine pill. Therefore, Li Fan now has only one task assigned to these 312 disciples, which is to practice hard and try to achieve their own strength realm ascension as much as possible. Li Fan looked at the disciple under the door, and said solemnly, "Now Qian Yuanzong's surroundings, including the Kanglan domain, although nothing can threaten his Qian Yuanzong's foreign enemies and crises. However, the state of affairs in the rest of the realm outside the Kanglan domain was more serious. Because many regions had not completed the system release mission, the mist soul formations secretly left behind by those monsters were resolved. As a result, 7 regions about the size of Kanglan region were surrounded by an endless army of weird and foggy souls, and they had fallen into bitter battles. Some of them, because of their weaker strength and fewer cultivators, were swept and wiped out by those weird forces at the beginning, and the entire area was turned to death, and no cultivator escaped all of them. This endless weird and foggy soul army made Li Fan very worried. Especially that southern Moon Valley. The Nanyu Valley is adjacent to the Kanglan region and borders the northernmost part of the Kanglan region. A weird crisis broke out there, and Kanglan region would also be implicated. This time, the Purity Palace convened hundreds of forces to discuss sending disciples to help the southern Moon Valley resist the weird army. As the only 5th-rank sect in the Kanglan region, Qian Yuanzong must set an example to send his disciples to guard the border of the Kanglan region to assist the southern Moon Valley. But now Qian Yuanzong is also in the problem of not picking up the blue and yellow, and the lack of disciples under the school. The combat power that can be brought out is too small, and it takes constant time to recruit and train new disciples in Kirin City. So now that the quantity is not enough, we can only use quality to make up. If Qian Yuanzong's 300 disciples cultivation base can go one step further, and all reach the Tongqiao realm or even a few Guanli realms, they may not be inferior to the thousands of other sect disciples. He has a hundredfold multiplier system, and there is a starry sky palace that can be exchanged for a large amount of resources, medicine pill. Regardless of the training of resources, Li Fan is confident that his disciples can achieve the combat power of 10. Boom, boom, 2 knocks on the door. Enter. Hearing Li Fan's voice, Ren Guan and Hengqing outside the door opened the door and saluted together. "I have seen sect leader." Li Fan nodded when he saw the 2 of them. This time he went to the Pure Palace to participate in the 100 Sects Council and prepare to take the 2 together. Since Li Fan came into this world, he has actually gradually got used to the way of being alone, relying on his own power to solve everything. It's just that, judging from the revenge against Qian Yuanzong by the Red Ridge Stone Forest monster, even if he is strong, there are certain moments when he can't get away. If a sect only relies on him to drive its development, it makes him feel a little weak and lacking in skills. He decided to take Ren Guan and Hengqing to meet the world together, let them participate in some higher level things, and cultivate them. In this way, even without him in many things in the sect in the future, Qian Yuanzong will be able to develop steadily and it will not be easy for him to be away from messy things. Who knows what the world will be like in the future? The weirdness in this endless fog and vast area is not something he can fight against alone. He must use the role of sect, not only relying on the sect disciples to kill the weird to accumulate merit for him, so that his realm can ascension faster. He will also try his best to develop the strength of sect in his disciples. Cultivate his disciples into a sword that is invincible, cutting out a place to settle down for him and Qian Yuanzong. Even in the future, all these disgusting mists and twisted weirdness will be cut off, driven out of this land, and the world will be restored to life. Putting away his thoughts, Li Fan's gaze paused on the 2 of them. "Huh. It seems that after experiencing these recent things, your practice has not fallen." Li Fan retracted his gaze, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. As soon as Ren Guan and Hengqing came in, he noticed that the aura on the 2 of them had slightly changed compared to the previous few days. He looked carefully, and found the realm of the 2 of them now. Hengqing's legs are full of vitality and blood. It has penetrated the meridian acupoints of one leg, and realm has also reached the 9th level of the Tongqiao state. If you don't continue to try to get through other meridians, you can already try to penetrate the acupoints and enter Guanlijing. When Li Fan stopped Ren Guan's gaze, his eyes were even brighter. "I saw Ren Guan's muscular bulge and the whole body looked very strong, like a black bear. The whole person was very different from the thin image of the little black monkey that Li Fan saw when he first entered Qian Yuanzong. People. The blood qi on Renguan's body was more than twice as rich as Hengqing. Li Fan lifted up the broken sage pupil and saw that there were 94 starlight flashes in his flesh and blood. Surprisingly, it has penetrated the two major meridians of the foot Shaoyan kidney meridian and the hand Yangming large intestine meridian, a total of 94 acupoints, but the realm of Renguan still stays at the pinnacle of the 9 levels of Tongqiao that is the same as Hengqing. He didn't step into the fourth state. It seemed that he understood the benefits of the Chaojing state for the body's accumulation, and wanted to lay a solid foundation for himself in this realm. It seems that when I explained the practice experience of Tongqiao realm in the clan a few days ago, you went back and thought about it seriously. Li Fan looked at Renguan. Renguan scratched his head, looking a little shy and said, I heard sect leader's words that day, which resolved my confusion in the Tongqiao realm. Originally, the disciple planned to enter the Guanli realm after opening a meridian, but he always felt that many of his own potentials did not seem to be released. Therefore, the disciple now intends to try to get through more acupoints in the body, and it is not too late to enter the Guanli realm after tapping out his own potential as much as possible. Although I am still at the 9th floor of realm, I feel that my strength has increased a lot. Now it should be no problem to play 2 or 3 on the 9th floor of the ordinary. Quote. Renguan he smirked, let alone glance at Hengqing with his eyes, the meaning was beyond words. Li Fan was also amused when he saw Renguan's appearance. The hall master Ren, who was surging, calm at the great hall of the sect a few days ago, made his move decisively and fiercely so that everyone in sect feared. Why is he now the same as before when he comes back, and he still pretends to be such a simple and honest persona in front of him, which was really a mistake at the beginning. Looking at Li Fan's helpless expression, Renguan still pretended not to see. No matter how arrogant I look on the outside and how ruthless I am, I can't lose the honest person in front of sect leader. When Li Fan was first preparing to take their disciples out to explore the fog, he gained the trust and cultivation of Li Fan with his natural loyal and honest looks. In order to develop to the current realm, he became the deputy sect leader of sect again. It can be seen that this method is extremely easy to use and he must maintain it. Humans, don't forget their roots. Ren cared with a sigh, and scratched his head happily. 49%. Chapter 128. Money can't help but spend. Li Fan's residence. Hengqing on the side heard Renguan's words, and saw his somewhat awkward expression. After a moment of stunned feeling, he slowly recollected, his eyes widened and angrily said, You said that you can play several ordinary aperture stage 9th levels and see what I do. Don't deceive people too much. Cut. Renguan glanced at him, which meant that he would go out to practice if he had the ability. Heng Qingqi's complexion turned red, but he didn't hold a word for a long time, which made Li Fan a little surprised. Hengqing and Renguan had a very good relationship before, but they had always been fighting secretly and wanted to take the other side down. But today, the boy Hengqing was taunted by Renguan for several sentences, but he didn't say a word except for sulking. This is really weird. Maybe this is the fact that the physique of people and people cannot be generalized in the legend. It seems that some people can be angry for a whole day in extreme anger, commonly known as incompetent rage. Li Fan couldn't help being curious, and asked casually. After a while, he finally understood what was going on. It turned out that both of them felt that they had a strong ascension yesterday. When they met, they wanted to beat their own friends on the spot, and the two had a battle in Wutai. And the solution, obviously, Hengqing has been well educated. Don't be arrogant. After I enter the Guanli realm immediately, we will fight again. Then I will let you know whether your senior is or your senior. Ah, Li Fan raised his hand to interrupt Renguan's words, and looked at Hengqing and Renguan, and said with stern expression, Don't enter the Guanli state yet, continue to polish your foundation in the Tongqiao state, and strive to penetrate all 720 acupoints. Break through again, you can reap unprecedented benefits through all acupoints, don't fight for a while. Hearing Li Fan's words, Renguan thought about it. After he has opened up the 2 major meridian acupoints in a row these days, he already feels that the acupoints at the back are more difficult to get through. If you really want to get through the whole body acupoints, he estimated that he would have to spend more than 50 years in the realm of Tongqiao realm. He couldn't estimate the details, but the time would not be too short. Isn't it because it has delayed the follow-up practice? How could they have been delayed for so long on a small realm in the martial realm? But sect leader said so, there should be his reason. If Li Fan hadn't said that, he already wanted to be promoted to the level of continuity with the 2 meridian realm, and now, listen to Li Fan's meaning before making a decision. And Hengqing on the side seemed much more direct, and said in a huff, "Sect leader, why is that? I feel that it is meaningless to delay in a realm for too long. We wait for decades to get old and die before we get through all acupoint, as other people have already reached the Dao realm long ago." Li Fan shook his head and thought, well, I really didn't read this disciple wrong, he is really so stupid honest and honest. After half an hour, Li Fan explained his experience of getting through the 720 acupoints in the aperture realm and his understanding of this realm as two people. After both Ren Guan and Heng Qing listened, their eyes flashed green and excited. "Sect leader, can you really enter the Dao realm in one day by getting through the whole body acupoints? Sect leader, can you really pass it to us after we get through the acupoints of the soul of the Arctic immortal that you cultivated that day?" Sect leader. The two of them heard Li Fan's experience, and they also saw what Li Fan's powerful strength said to him. After opening the door in the body, they were amazed at the wonderful realm they could reach, and they were very yearning for it. "I have pressed the mind that I want to break through to the Guanli state now, and I am ready to go through the 720 acupoints with all my strength." And Li Fan also said frankly that he would try his best to help them get through acupoints as soon as possible, and would provide them with precious medicine pill, which is the Taiching patching pill that Li Fan used to quickly get through acupoints. As long as there are enough Taiching patching pills, according to Li Fan's estimation, the two of them will be able to penetrate all acupoints in at most 4 or 5 months. It's just that the merit points needed in this one made Li Fan a little bit straightforward. More than 600,000 merits. If he allowed him to accumulate the weird surroundings by killing Qian Yuanzong, he estimated that he could kill the weirdness of Qian Yuanzong's radius of thousands of miles. Well, the merits accumulated by killing weird outside the ruins before are still a little bit left, and then even killing 4 monsters also gained a lot of merit rewards. I now have more than 210,000 merit points in my hand, which is only 400,000 short. Don't panic. Fortunately, there are enough weirdness in the southern Moon Valley, eh? What am I thinking? Is it a good thing for me to be too weird now? Li Fan smashed it, it looks the same everywhere, money it's okay to give it enough life. Li Fan's spiritual thoughts moved, and he used 100,000 merits to exchange for 200 Taiching heavenly patching pills, and spent 100,000 merits to exchange for a fixed point teleportation array that he had seen in the Star Palace before. In the end, he bought another 6 Wanli shuttle talisman and spent 300 merits. Before, he could only use this thing once when he ran out of it. The 200,000 merits are so little left. Fixed point teleportation array. Set up an array base in 2 places, fill in enough spirit stones as a source of energy, and you can freely shuttle between the 2 places. Exchange price. 98,800 heavenly Dao merit points. This thing was prepared by him to recruit disciples. He planned to establish a stronghold in Kirin City to recruit and select disciples, and set up fixed-point teleportation arrays on both sides. In this way, after recruiting disciples from Kirin City, they can be directly transmitted to Qianyuanzong by means of formation, which saves the hardship of the middle road and reduces the labor cost of requiring sufficient manpower to escort those new entry students. And in this way, only a small number of disciples need to be placed in Kirin City to recruit and screen disciples, plus guarding the teleportation array to prevent people from destroying it or someone uses this magic array to sneak attack. Of course, there is no need to worry about this problem. After he has established the teleportation circle, he will strictly control the security issues. Only the disciples from the Kirencheng circle can use the transmission jade symbol to give the correct code. Qianyuanzong's method. The array will be turned on. Moreover, the Purity Palace is not a vegetarian. If anyone can control Kirin City, their lifeblood under their noses, then the Purity Palace will not have to live. No way, now his Qianyuan sect has few people, and no one of his staff will send them to serve as babysitters for the new disciples. This is the only way to do that if there is such a slight risk. It's almost time, let's go. Li Fan threw 2 Wanli shuttle charms with enough psionic energy to Ren Guan and Hengqing, and said. The 3 of them activated the teleportation symbol in their hands, a burst of white light flashed, and the 3 of them disappeared. Fathers, folks, brothers and sisters, take the posture, rely on posture, no posture, not a posture, everyone who has money is a fan of money, and those who have no money are a fan of others. Dang dang dang, selling oil. Sesame oil, seed oil, peanut oil, the aroma is not enough to eat. Meat. Bag. 49%. Chapter 129 Underground City. Loud shouts lingered in the streets. Ren Guan and Hengqing stood on the streets of Qiran City together with Li Fan. For a while, they were fascinated by the bustling scene here. The merchants and vendors around them squeezed past the three of them while wearing the seams in the crowd. Hengqing's eyes rolled around and whispered, "Sect leader, is this the Qirancheng you are talking about? I didn't expect it to be so big and so lively. You look silly, junior brother Ren Guan." Ren Guan didn't get used to it for a while. They only heard Li Fan say that a city was built under the gate of the Purity Palace, and it was crowded, but he didn't expect that there would be so many people. The strange fog and twisted weirdness he usually faces here seems to be not a world. He didn't quarrel with Hengqing but was rare in silence and said nothing. Li Fan looked at the two of them at a loss and smiled. He was shocked when he first saw this place. It's the first time you come out and play around here, and experience the plain and fulfilling life of ordinary people. In the future, Qian Yuanzong will strive to build such a lively place. Li Fan took out some spirit stones and handed them to Aaron Dao. You can use spirit stones for anything you want to buy in this place. After all, Spirit Stones is a city built by the monastic road sect. The spirit stones are also common here. Please turn me around to inform me of the deacon of the Purity Palace here and arrange the teleportation array. Li Fan finished speaking, then turned and left. His figure is elegant and unrestrained, and he is completely unobstructed in this slightly crowded, lively market. Seeing Li Fan leaving, Ren Guan and Hengqing stayed where they were and did not dare to move. The two came to such a lively place for the first time. Although they were very curious, they also had a lot of discomfort. This is the first time I have seen this kind of place. I just heard my mother mention it when I was young. Ren Guan muttered with a look of loneliness as he watched a sugar calabash vendor walking past. Hengqing also fell silent. Both of their parents were cultivators. They were taken into the mountain gate to practice martial arts since childhood. From the beginning of their records, only the fog, weirdness, and demonic beasts outside Sect were with them. The two have always been like this and don't feel bored. It is their greatest pleasure to listen to their parents tell a story about the past and listen to a life they have never experienced before. At that time, Ren Guan heard his mother mention that they were also in a mortal city, life, and the city there was as lively as he now sees in Qiran City. There is no fog, and when you sleep, you don't have to worry about whether there will be weirdness dragging them into the abyss of death in their sleep when the night comes. The young Ren Guan raised his naive and honest face, and asked, "Mother, it's so good there, why should we leave?" When Ren Guan's mother heard Ren Guan's doubts, she shook her head slightly without answering, and then changed the subject, obviously not wanting to think of the memories from the past. "Hey, junior brother Ren, look at that person over there who has not practiced but can breathe fire. It's interesting, let's go and see." Seeing Ren Guan's expression wrong, Hengqing quickly changed the subject. Ren Guan's thoughts were pulled back, and he nodded, "Okay." After a while, Hengqing walked away from the maneuvering, fire-breathing, with a disappointed look. "I thought it was a unique technique that people who hadn't practiced could perform. It turned out to be just a trick. Sect leader has said that this is just a mortal city. How could there be something like what you said? The cultivator here is probably the two of us. Others are busy cultivating the Ascension cultivation base. How can they hang out like us?" Guan's expression improved a lot, and he looked at Hengqing Dao speechlessly. Hengqing smiled disapprovingly, who said there are very few cultivators here. "Look over there." He pointed to a cramped alley in front of him and said. Ren Guan fixed his eyes in the direction he was pointing, and he really found something unusual. How come there are so many practitioners suddenly? Looking at how happy they are in a hurry, maybe there is something interesting, let's go see it too, Hengqing said. The two of them wandered here for a long time, and they had long felt bored. Although it can evoke some of their memories, the lives of the two have long been out of touch with these mortals, and they feel uncomfortable after staying for a while. Ren Guan didn't rush to follow the cultivator rushing to the cramped alley. He, who has always been used to being in the wild life, was a little scared of this kind of fun. In that fog, if you are too curious to be attracted by a strange sound or sight, you may be killed. But here, Ren Guan turned his head and looked at the noisy pedestrians around him. After all, he couldn't reach Hengqing's ink stains. He brought Hengqing cupped hands to salute a forward cultivator and asked them what they rushed to. What's the funny thing about that place? The two who got the answer saw curiosity in each other's eyes. Shu Practitioner City. It seems quite interesting. After confirming that it was not dangerous, the two drove along with the cultivator that was pulled down by them halfway. I heard that there are a lot of good things in Fengxi this time, all because of the 100 councils organized by the Qingjing Palace this time, and there are sect forces from all over the Kanglan region. People from all over have brought many unique treasures near their sect, and even the shopping malls here have become popular. Lu Feng said. The long-faced young cultivator who was held back by Ren Guan showed excitement towards Ren Guan and Heng Qing. Oh, I heard Brother Lu said that there are usually such market openings here. Brother Lu often comes to participate. Ren Guan smiled. It's not actually. It's also my first time to participate in the market here with Sect's elders. Those were just heard from a few friends. Lu Feng scratched his nose and said, if it wasn't because of just now. Something is delayed, I should go with them. The three chatted for a while, and Ren Guan and Heng Qing also learned about these hundreds of assemblies. In the market they are going to, the people involved are basically sect cultivators who came to participate in the council this time. They were all brought by their own sect leaders just like them. However, they didn't know exactly why they had to bring their disciples here. Their sect leader only said to bring them to meet the world. Junior brother Ren, junior brother Heng, we are here. Lu Feng took the two to the cramped alley just now. Looking at the emptiness, where there is not even a door, the two of them are a little puzzled. However, Lu Feng seemed to have passed through a gray stone wall at the end of the alley and disappeared directly in front of the two of them. Come in, this is just a small illusion technique. Half of Lu Feng's long face was exposed from the gray stone wall. He could only see the upper half of his face but not his mouth, which was extremely interesting. Ren Guan and Heng Qing looked at each other and walked together. Passing through the stone wall, a spacious space appeared in front of them. 49%. Chapter 130 Clues to the Extreme Fire. Passing through the stone wall, a space the size of 5 or 6 inches outside appeared in front of the two of them. There were roughly 200 people in the wide conference hall. There are 2 floors in the city, but there is no difference between the 2 floors. They are all one person, 1 wooden chair, 1 small table, and some tea and snacks on the table. There are no such things as private rooms or boxes. Think about it, too, there are not many people in such a place usually, and it's not interesting to make so many twists and turns. It's better to be practical, Ren Guan thought. Brother Lu, here, a girl who looked very energetic in the front row of Fengxi waved her hand. At a glance, Lu Feng saw the girl's little hand waving vigorously, and said to Ren Guan Aaron next to him, 2 brothers, I'm going to my friend's side. If it's convenient for you, you can sit with me. Just as Heng Qing wanted to open his mouth, Ren Guan said, Brother Lu is busy first, let's take a look here. Hearing what Ren Guan said, Lu Feng didn't insist. He bid farewell to the two and went straight to the girl's place. Heng Qing looked at Ren Guan, and said in doubt, in such a simple place, there is nothing but chairs and tables. Where do you want to go shopping? Ren Guan held his forehead with one hand, and Heng Qing smiled angrily. Did you not see that the seats in other people's houses are all empty? They are all empty. Isn't that right? Let's go sit with Brother Lu. Anyway, someone we don't know has a companion. Heng Qing said. Ren Guan didn't bother to explain to him, and took Heng Qing casually to find a corner and sat down, while Heng Qing was still muttering why he couldn't sit with Lu Feng. Ren cared helplessly. This idiot is so stupid. There is no one else next to him. Doesn't that mean that the friend that the other person said is the girl? 2 people are sitting together on purpose. You have to join in the fun. It didn't take long for the 2 floors of Fengxi to be fully occupied, and the Fengxi fully accommodated more than 500 people. On a platform at the front of the venue, an elderly man walked out and stood beside a high table in the platform. Hello fellow Taoist, welcome everyone. After the old man finished his not-so-long opening remarks, he immediately entered the topic. Today's first item sent for auction is the 4th rank protection magical item Tianhe Hanzhong Jia. A bright and dazzling silver armor was laid on a high table and displayed in front of everyone. On the silver armor, the water and zeal aura flowed into Bufan. Hey, I didn't expect the first lot to be this 4th rank magical item Tianhe Hanzhong Jia. I came here for this treasure. The first lot was taken out of these treasures. Then everyone left without waiting for the next lot to come out. How could this old man make arrangements like this? Hey, are you stupid? If people dare to arrange this, it means there are better things behind. You think they are as stupid as you. Heng Qing in the corner of the venue also saw this bright silver armor. Hey, this thing is good. I haven't tried this defensive magical item yet. Heng Qing stared at it. Bao Jia on the stage was facing Ren Guando beside him. Ren Guan glanced at the silver armor on the stage, showing no interest. This play should be in terms of his and Hengqing's current physical bodies. It is not very helpful, a bit tasteless. The physical bodies that they tempered with the shui and qi blood and the promise refining pill given by Li Fan are very powerful. Simply put, they can resist the attack that Tianhe Hanzhong armor can block with their physical bodies. Both of them couldn't hold the attack physically, and the silver armor couldn't hold it, so this thing had nothing to do with it except to look good. The most important thing is that this game should still be an inner armor, and it's useless to look good. Who can go out wearing an inner armor? Is it perverted? 1,000 spirit stones. I'm out of 1,002. I'm going to order this treasure. 1,005. 2,000. I see who can grab it with me. Hengqing heard the rising prices, and heard Ren Guan's analysis, but also lost the thought of wanting to take it. Junior brother Ren is right. This thing is not too good to look good, and the last 2 bids are responsible for raising the price. Normal people buying things will say that they are bound to get that thing. Doesn't this wait to be slaughtered? Hengqing and Ren Guan sat quietly on the chairs, looking at the old man who used a 4th-rank magical item inner armor to mobilize the atmosphere of the venue, and couldn't help but sigh. In the end, this Tianhe Hanzhong Jia was photographed by a female cultivator with 2,600 spirit stones. The many cultivators who hadn't photographed He Hanzhong Jia that day were so angry that they wanted to leave, but after thinking about it, they sat down and the workshop started. There must be something better behind them and they don't need to worry. The next lot is. Soon after most of the meeting, Ren and Guan had a little interest except for the 4th-rank Nae that they first saw. They didn't even look at the things behind. Like what the 6th-rank spirit mine, the exchange of blood to increase the cultivation base, the medicine pill, the 5th-rank martial skill. They don't want too much of this kind of thing in Qian Yuanzong. They are all used for the cultivation of low-level disciples. They are not used by the more than 300 disciples of Qian Yuanzong now. These things were placed in Qian Yuanzong, and no one picked them up on the ground. Why are these things like this? Are there no useful treasures? I don't even have any desire to bid. Hengqing complained a little boredly. Because his voice is thicker, even if he lowers his voice, many people around him have heard it, and the expressions in their eyes looking at Hengqing have changed a little. The people around also whispered a few words. Which disciple of Sect is this, with such a big tone? It's not bad to reach the aperture stage at a young age. Why are people so mad? They can be too pretentious. The 2 of them didn't take a picture of anything since they first came in, and they didn't pay the price once. It seems that they are relatively poor and have no money, so if you can't eat grapes, they will collect grape sour. It should be like this. It is not terrible to be poor. It is terrible to be poor if you insist on pretending to be 13. Komatsu, don't you be like this kind of person in the future, do you need to know yourself well? A middle-aged man said to a girl next to him. Next, this treasure is a map and a piece of fire. The old man on the platform said solemnly. The old man's voice seemed a little solemn for the first time, and his solemn expression attracted the attention of everyone on the court. Although the marrow of fire is a good fuel for pill refining and refining, one piece is useless. Didn't you hear that there is still a map ahead? The marrow of fire is not the point, the map is the point. What will be on the map? Is it a marrow mine? Tisk, no culture, the marrow of fire is not an ore, but a substance that is burnt and burned under extreme high temperatures. It is not something similar to a mineral deposit at all. And where you find the marrow of fire, there will usually be a place, a land of extreme fire. 50%. Chapter 131 Immortal Land or Dangerous Land. When the term, Land of Fire, appeared, many older cultivators in the venue were all shocked and gave out unbelievable expressions. Really, it is a land of extreme fire. An old man with wrinkles on his face stared at the map in the hands of the old man on the stage and hurriedly said, Lao Luo, tell me quickly, does the map record where the extremely hot place is? Everyone urged. The young cultivator in the field was stunned for a moment. What is this? How do you think the elders of their sect are so solemn? They had never heard of any news about this extreme fire land, and they didn't know what this extreme fire land was, which shocked all the old cultivators in Ruodafang City with just a single word. Seeing the eager and curious gazes of the cultivator under the stage, the old Luo on the stage no longer stunned his appetite. Yes, what is recorded on this map is the clues about the land of extreme fire. As soon as this remark came out, the venue boiled. It's really a land of extreme fire. It's really a land of extreme fire. Ha ha ha. For so many years, the old man thought that the peak of the martial state was the end of the old man. I didn't expect to see a glimmer of hope in the realm of Tao in his lifetime. What the hell is this extremely hot place? It can cause such a big movement. Heng Qing also looked dazed at this time, took out a Taiching patching pill and threw it into his mouth with a rattling noise, and then silently looks at Ren Guan beside him. Ren Guan's expression was a little solemn. A land of extreme fire, a land of extreme fire. By the way, he heard sect leader Li Fan mention a while ago, saying that this place seems to be useful for Li Fan. Moreover, as the chief of the Dantang before, he had read many Danlu classics, especially in the hundreds of alchemy books that Li Fan later brought back from the Qingjing Palace. The extreme fire land is of great help to pill refining and refining. If you can take away the golden flame core in this extremely fire land, use it as a furnace fire for pill refining and refining, you can double the success rate during refining, and you can use Ascension Medicine Pill, magical item quality. But this alone is enough to drive so many realm advanced cultivators crazy. No, that's not right. Ren Guan continued to think, without speaking. Heng Qing on the side saw Ren Guan's solemn expression and stopped talking. Grandpa, where is the extremely hot place in the map in the hands of old Luo on the stage? How come so many people look very excited? A well-behaved girl who looked like a 14th 5-year-old asked the old man with long white beards beside her. The old man stroked his long beard, and the old god said, "It is said that the land of extreme fire is the mysterious fire above 9 heavens descending into the world, and it is a fairyland that slowly formed on the ground. And this place contains a ray of fairy meaning of the 9 heavens profound fire. If an ordinary cultivator can practice in it, it can get a lot of benefits, and the profound fire in it is also extremely gentle. Even if it is in it, it will not harm people in the slightest. On the contrary, it can make the cultivator get rid of all the dirt, wash away the dross, and refine it into an immortal body without dirt. Especially for an old man like me who has been stuck in the innate realm for many years, if there is a good fortune to enter there to practice and realize the spirit of immortality contained in it, it would be easy to break innate into the realm. I didn't expect that this time because of the 100 councils, I would still be able to see news of such a mortal land in this workshop. What a pity, old man, I'm afraid I can't compete with those old guys." Quote. The white-bearded old man finally said, shook his head and sighed unwillingly. "Taigong, your realm is advanced and deep, and our Yunshuzong has a profound background. You can definitely get a picture of that map." The girl took the old man's arm and said, "Furthermore, with Taigong's strength, even if you don't use this extremely fire place, you can quickly if you enter the realm, I believe you." The old man squinted his eyes when he heard the girl acting like a baby. He couldn't hear such comforting words at such a young age, but seeing his granddaughter so well behaved and sensible, he really felt much better. Heng Qing on one side heard the old man's words, his eyes lit up. A land of extreme fire. A good place. If you can hold this place in your hands as the secret realm of Qian Yuanzong's secrets, should you still worry about the slow ascension of sect disciples? Even if Qian Yuanzong's disciples are few, then everyone who stands up as the pinnacle of martial arts or the cultivator of Taoism. Then in this Kanglin region, no, let alone Kanglin region, even the entire wild region can have a place. Quote. Heng Qing's heart was tight. He must get Qian Yuanzong's hand in this extremely hot place. He awoke Ren Guan, who was still thinking about it, and said loudly, "Junior brother, we must get this extremely hot place. Then take out the spirit stones you brought, and we will definitely be able to take this map when we gather together." The people around Heng Qing cast a glance at him. How can this person pretend to be unfinished? I don't even look at how many people in the field are staring at this map that records clues to the extremely hot place. I can definitely take a picture. You are rich enough to be an enemy of the country. A bright light flashed in Ren Guan's eyes, and he slapped Heng Qing's hand. "I really want to get my hand in this extremely fire place. Hey, how come a child who looks quite honest has been taught to brag 13 by this stupid big guy?" An idea came out of the people around, and one was taken badly afterwards. See if this is not easy to learn. If you have a bad school, you must not play with fools when you go out. Ren Kering had a lot of thoughts. Just now he also heard the legend about the extremely fire place that the long-bearded old man said, but he always felt that something was wrong. Until the end, he suddenly remembered a sentence mentioned in an ancient book. Yi was shocked and restless. The rivers boiled, and the mountain zoo collapsed. The land of extreme fire is a place of great fierceness. Here, the earth is shaking, the sky is falling, and the sky is falling. The sky fire can melt everything and turn everything into ashes. Quote. This thing is not the nine heavens mysterious fire that contains the immortal meaning that the old man said, and it is pure nonsense that bathing in the fire that day can be refined into an immortal body. If an ordinary person is stained a little, let alone no dirt, it will turn you into ashes in a second. However, Renguan was still a little excited. Although I don't know why this extremely hot place was spread like this, Li Fan told him that this place is very important to him. Therefore, he must get this map too. In front of the stage, old Luo holding a parchment said, "This map records clues to the extremely hot place, but it does not have an accurate location." According to the seller, he was chased by weird while exploring the fog, and happened to find it. A pothole containing a lot of fire. There is a lot of fire in this pothole, and spiritual chi is full of fire. It is very likely that it is a very hot place. As an agent seller, we have also checked the place he said based on the seller's clues, and there is indeed a lot of flames left there. You can rest assured. Quote. After Luo Lao finished speaking on stage, he paused and continued. The map that records the clues of the extreme fire land has a starting price of 100,000 spirit stones. As for this kind of map lot, everyone is basically not very worried about its authenticity and location leakage, because the market as a sales agent will be carefully verified in many ways to ensure the authenticity of the lot. The seller and the market will also sign the Heavenly Tao contract to ensure that there will be no such thing as selling more than one picture or the seller secretly telling others the place. It's just that for such a precious fairyland as extreme fire, everyone will inevitably be a little worried. It's not an accurate location, there is still a risk in it. Yes, the starting price for a map without an accurate location is 100,000, which is too much. But despite this, many people still paid the price. 105,000 spirit stones. 100,000 spirit stones. 120,000 spirit stones. In a short while, this yellow parchment with no precise location has already risen to the sky-high price of 200,000 spirit stones. Heng Qing was a little panicked. He thought this item would sell for 7 to 80,000 spirit stones, and he and Renguan could make up 100,000 spirit stones. After all, Li Fan just gave Renguan 50,000 spirit stones a few days ago, and the two people usually saved a total of more than 100,000 spirit stones. But Heng Qing didn't expect that the starting price of this piece of paper was 100,000 yuan, and his face flushed with anxiety. This time it seems that the cowhide has really been blown through. Junior brother, what should we do? It seems that we can't get this map anymore. Renguan didn't rush, and took out the transmission jade talisman. Sect leader, I found a clue to the extreme fire land, come here. Then the specific address of Fangxi was also sent to the past. HMPH, we don't have money, can sect leader still have no money? It's just a few 100,000 spirit stones, which is trivial to sect leader. Renguan said to Heng Qing. The two looked at each other and smiled, now they are stable. 50%. Chapter 132 Do you see me like spirit stones? Chu Elder's accomplishments in the formation are really deep, and he is one of the best. Li Fan smiled and said to the Clean Palace Elder Chu Bianshan next to him, if it weren't for Chu Elder's help this time, I don't know this fixed point teleportation array. A layer of spirit gathering array can be placed in it to replace spirit stones to ensure the operation of the teleportation array. Chu Bianshan was full of spring breeze when he heard the praise of Li Fan, realm's advanced young talent. He caressed the long beard and smiled faintly, this is nothing. Li Sect leader entered the Dao realm at a young age. This achievement is far from the old man. I think Chu Elder's aura is solid and his spirit power is full. It shouldn't be long before he can enter the Dao realm. Thanks to Li Sect leader's boundary breaking pill, otherwise the old man still doesn't know how many years will be wasted in this innate realm. The two touted each other, and the atmosphere was very harmonious, as if Li Fan came to Qingjing Palace some time ago to pick up 8 pieces and take the slate fragments from them had never happened. Li Fan couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Sure enough, there are no eternal enemies, only eternal interests. With the same interests, enemies can become friends in minutes. When the two exchanged greetings, Li Fan's jade talisman in his arm suddenly became slightly hot. He took out the jade talisman and showed a slight smile on his face. I didn't expect to find the extreme fire land when I was preparing for the golden core. There were clues here, but the function of this extreme fire land was so outrageous. What 9 heavens mysterious fire, array of fairy intent, and immortal body. According to the introduction he found in the system, this extremely fierce land is a fierce land, and the fire in it is extremely fierce and can melt everything. If the ordinary cultivator does not restrain the fire in it, even if it strays into it, you are a Taoist cultivator and will turn to ashes every minute. What else is there to find the flames of the extreme fire land? Is this not fast enough? Quote. Li Fan frowned slightly, feeling that this matter might not be as simple as he thought. He turned his head to look at Chu Bianshan next to him, and said, I just received a message from my disciple saying that a clue to the extreme fire land was found at an auction. Chu Elder, the extreme fire land. Guozong should have heard of the matter too. Li Fan narrowed his eyes, carefully observing Chu Bianshan's expression. It is rumored that it cultivates the fairyland where the cultivator can break through the innate realm, and the auction is still held in the Kiran city under the nose of the Qingjing Palace. If the Qingjing Palace says that he doesn't know, he won't believe it. Chu Bianshan smiled and said, I just wanted to talk to Sect leader Li about this. I didn't expect that Sect leader Li already knew about it. Our Purification Palace was the first to know the news of this extremely hot land, and we have also checked the authenticity of the news. At the auction this time, I sent 3 elders from the Qingjing Palace and used a lot of resources. We are also very greedy in this extremely hot place. Quote. Li Fan raised his eyebrows slightly. When Chu Bianshan in front of him mentioned the extreme fire land, there was nothing wrong with his expression. On the contrary, it seemed that the Qingjing Palace was sure to win this place. This made him a little confused about what was going on. Could it be that the Palace of Purity didn't know what was going on in this extremely fire place, and he was also deceived? Or this news is a plot directed and acted by Qingjing Palace, so what are they plotting? It seems we need to try again. Li is also very interested in this extremely hot place, and the teleportation array here has also been set up. Why don't we set off and visit that place city together? Li Fan suggested. Okay. Chu Bianshan was also a little moved. The two hit it off, and they left together and soon arrived in the market. Sect leader, here. Ren Guan and Hengqing beckoned. Li Fan, who had just entered the venue, saw Ren and Guan at a glance. Then he turned slightly to the side of Chu Bianshan beside him and said, if Chu Elder doesn't dislike it, why don't you go and sit there with me? Chu Bianshan paused for a while, then smiled and nodded, okay. Chu Bianshan knew that there were people from the Pure Palace in this venue. It stands to reason that when the two of them arrived at the venue, he should go to meet their own sect people. But now that Li Fan made an obvious invitation, he couldn't let Li Fan's face off, but he was slightly puzzled. He sat next to Rengguan and Rengguan with Li Fan. Sect leader, now the map that records the extreme fire land has captured 200,000 spirit stones, and the price is still rising. Rengguan said. Yeah, Li Fan nodded, noncommittal. The function of this extreme fire land was so ridiculously rumored that the price would naturally not be low, enough to continuously cultivate and create a large number of masters. Enough to drive all sects in the entire Kanglan domain crazy. Chu Bianshan next to Li Fan also didn't care. The price of 200,000 spirit stones was far from the true price of this extremely hot spot. According to their estimates of the Purity Palace, this time the map is conservatively estimated to be sold at a price of more than 500,000 spirit stones, and even higher is unknown. It should be known that a middle-level 7-rank sect continuously hunts demonic beasts, collects and cultivates elixir, or finds and mines spirit ore each year, and the amount of spirit stones that can be earned in a year is only 3 to 50,000 spirit stones. As the top sect of the Kanglan domain, their Purity Palace, coupled with part of the taxation in charge of Kiran City, can only earn less than 100,000 spirit stones in a year. Although it's not too small, don't forget that the training, alchemy, and equipment of the disciples in Sect, including the expenses for maintaining the safety of Kiran City, will spend almost half a year. At the end of the year, there is basically very little left. 500,000 spirit stones, even if their Purity Palace would have to hollow out most of their family assets to get them together. But in their view, if they can take this extremely hot place in their hands, all the efforts will be worthwhile. This is the matter of Fukuzawa sect for thousands of years, and the profound fire immortal meaning in a place of extreme fire, save a little and use them for thousands of years. Sect leader, you can count it. Just now we wanted to take this map directly and give you a surprise, but we didn't expect the price to be so crazy. Hengqing scratched his head and blushed. But fortunately, you came here in time. It will be no problem to take down the map now. Ren Guan also nodded, and rarely agreed with Hengqing's point of view. In their opinion, Qian Yuanzong had countless resources and profound background. His own sect leader must be quite powerful, and he has not caught hundreds of thousands of spirit stones. Li Fan was a little hairy when they looked at them with hot expectations. He felt bad in his heart when he received the news from Rengguan. The rumor in this extremely hot land is too strong, and the price will definitely be extremely crazy. He did not feel that hundreds of thousands of spirit stones were too many, but the problem was that he basically used up all the spirit stones on the 5th floor of the Breakthrough Foundation building. The only spirit stones left in Sect were also given to the 10 Rengguan as rewards. Now it can be said that it is the jingle of poverty all over. The pockets are cleaner than the face. Li Fan cautiously probed Chu Bianshan. Chu Elder, what do you think will be the final transaction price of this map? Normal situation is about 500,000 spirit stones. Chu Bianshan replied in deep thought. Li Fan smacked his lips without saying a word. When Hengqing heard this number, he was a little excited. Only 500,000 spirit stones, sect leader, by him. Li Fan glanced at him and wondered if his disciple's collection was a bit sloppy, and should I clear the door? Li Fan's mouth twitched to the two of them, saying, do you two see me like spirit stones? 51%. Chapter 133 I Li Fan, Our Lady. When Rengguan and Hengqing heard what Li Fan said, they were dumbfounded. It turns out that our Qian Yuanzong is so poor now, this is over, this map seems to be out of reach. The two felt a little disappointed, but Li Fan didn't care. Pretending to be contemplative on his face, he looked at Chu Bianshan next to him. Chu Bianshan saw that he was hesitant to speak, and he was puzzled. What's wrong? Finally, Chu Bianshan couldn't stand Li Fan's tangled expression anymore, and the curiosity in his heart was completely aroused. Li Sect Leader, do you have anything to say to me? Li Fan sighed and said, Chu Elder has something to say that is really inappropriate, but I and the Purity Palace are also allies. I am really worried that the Purity Palace will be deceived. So I have to say this, the extremely hot place may be tricky. After speaking, he took out 2 yellowed books from his sleeves and handed them over. Chu Bianshan was startled. Is there any fraud in Extreme Fire? Could it be that the map is fake? He dubiously passed the 2 volumes in Li Fan's hands and turned them to the page marked by Li Fan. At this glance, Chu Bianshan's face instantly turned pale. The description of the Extreme Fire land was completely different from what they knew. According to it, the Extreme Fire land was not a fairyland at all, and there was no cultivator in it. Improve the effect of cultivation-based breakthrough. On the contrary, it was an extremely dangerous place, with a trace of the sky fire inside, and even the spiritual light realm cultivator of the 3rd realm in the Tao realm would be reduced to ashes. If it was just like this, or if someone showed him this ancient book from an unknown source, he wouldn't believe it at all. But among the 2 books he opened, one of them was impressively imprinted with the breath of the Pure Palace, which proved that this book was spread from the Pure Palace. Li Sect Leader, did you exchange this book from my clan last time? Li Fan nodded. Hey, it's troublesome now. Chu Bianshan glanced at the meeting place. His sect people had already called the price of 480,000 spirit stones close to the peak, and his complexion was even paler. Take this large sum of spirit stones out if you are cheated. Then their Purity Palace will not be able to slow down in 2 or 3 years, and the development of Sect will also be delayed. Then they are competing with Li Fan for the 10 territory competition, which is already on the agenda, for the position of the Domain Master. Things will also be directly affected. Their efforts to clean up the palace over the years will all be in vain. Thinking of this, Chu Bianshan's body trembled a little. Sect leader Li is not sure if I can tell them about this with me. He looked at the direction of his sect in the venue. No problem. Li Fan nodded. And at this time, 48,000 spirit stones at once. 48,000 spirit stones twice. 48,000 spirit stones were sold 3 times. The whole venue boiled instantly, with regrets, unwillingness and jealousy. Oh, in the end it fell short. The financial resources of the Palace of Purity are too strong. It's a pity, seeing the opportunity to enter the Tao realm just slipping away in front of the old man is not reconciled. You said, can we buy a place from the Purity Palace to enter the land of extreme fire? After all, the land of extreme fire is not a one-time opportunity. Now we are about to fight the weird group in the southern Moon Valley. If our overall strength can be ascension, it will be good for the entire Kanglan region. I believe Qingjing Palace will also agree. Yes, I think it's okay if you just buy a few quotas for each case. It's great, we can talk to the Purity Palace when we wait for the 100 sect councils for a while. What, old Chu, are you sure that what you said is true? Elder Lu Yu of Ji Ning's group said in surprise. Chu Bianshan did not speak and passed the evidence in his hand. After reading it, Lu Yu couldn't help but slumped on a chair. He looked at the booklet with the unique brand of Qingjing Palace in his hand, and then looked at Li Fan. My heart also began to waver. But we have already photographed the map of the extreme fire land. If this is a fake, how can it be good? Who wants to cheat us on the Purity Palace? Lu Elder, I don't know where you learned about the extreme fire land as the immortal land. Why this kind of thing seems to be known to everyone. Not many people should know about this rare place. Li Fan asked while looking at Lu Yu, who was slumped in the chair. Lu Yu clenched his fists, gritted his teeth and said, "This happened more than a month ago." After a while, Li Fan, who had listened to the ins and outs, appeared in thought, so this news came from the sect named Wanfajai. Lu Yu nodded, and hesitated, but Wanfajai is an older force in the Kanglan region. Their sect is rather weird, not good at fighting for fame and fortune, nor for any cultivation resources. Sect gets along very well, as if there is no desire. But they are only interested in various secrets, ancient books that record historical facts and anecdotes. In particular, one of their sect leader Herding is notoriously knowledgeable. He knows world anecdotes, various secret realms, and even long-lost techniques and pill recipes. Therefore, there are many sect forces who come to Wanbajai for advice, including our Qingjing Palace in the early years to ask for the long-lost pill recipe that we saw in an ancient book. That Mufang is also easy to come up with. So, Li Fan understood what Lu Yu meant. Even now, he still believes the news about extreme fire from Wanfajai more, and does not believe him in Chubian Mountain. But this is not a problem, just go to the extremely hot place to find out what the matter is. Lu Elder, this matter is of great importance. I think this matter may not be just for the Purity Palace. Did you hear the voice in the venue just now? Li Fan said flatly. Lu Yu was a little puzzled. Li's sect leader is saying that someone just proposed to buy a place to practice in the land of extreme flames. Lu Elder thinks it is someone who most urgently wants to practice in the land of extreme flames. Is the cultivator at the peak of the martial realm. Yes, those people who are eager to go to extreme fire are all realms' top cultivators who have been stuck in innate realm for a long time, and these people can be said to be the pillars of Kanglan region. And now it's a crisis in the southern Moon Valley, and we need our help from the Kanglan region. At this time, if there is a problem with the cultivator in the land of extreme fire, things will be troublesome. Quote. Listening to Li Fan's words, Lu Yu imagined that if most of the top cultivators of the Kanglan domain had an accident in the extremely fire place of their purification palace, the consequences would be unimaginable. The Qingjing Palace will immediately be pointed out by Wan Fu, and the 100 Sects alliance that has not yet formed will also be destroyed. Then the weirdness of the southern Moon Valley could not be stopped, and when those weirdness completely occupied the southern Moon Valley, the Kanglan region would immediately follow in the footsteps of the southern Moon Valley. A cold sweat was dripping on Lu Yu's forehead, and Chu Bianshan was also nervous. Li Fan continued at this time. So, even if what Wanfajai said is true, the risk is very small, but we can't take any risk in Kanglan domain now. Therefore, the sale of places must be postponed, and for the time being, don't bother with the map seller and Wanfajai, so as not to be horrified. We can quietly dispatch a few masters to explore the reality of the extremely hot land. Quote. Lu Yu's eyes lit up. This method is indeed possible, but if this extremely hot land is really a conspiracy against our top cultivator in the Kanglan domain, then we will send a few innate realms to death. This loss is not small. Unless, Lu Yu glanced at Li Fan carefully, then paused. Lu Yu was a little nervous and ashamed. He was kind enough to remind them not to be calculated, but he still wanted to take the others to take risks for the Qing dynasty. This is really not authentic. But if there were no masters like Li Fan, who were all outstanding in the Taoist realm, they would have lost the clean palace. If the spirit stones got into a few more innate realms, they would be completely ruined. Lu Yu gritted his teeth secretly. Not for the sake of Sect's old face, Li Sect leader, I would like to invite you to explore the extremely fiery place with our Purity Palace, what do you think? You can rest assured, as long as you are willing to go with us, I will discuss with Sect leader and I will give you 300,000 spirit stones as your selling fee. And if the land of extreme fire is indeed a fairyland without any danger as Wanfajai said, the 300,000 spirit stones will still be given to you, and you will be given 10 places to practice in the land of extreme fire. See how. Quote. Lu Yu was a little embarrassed when he finished. The big black face full of wrinkles turned a little red. Chu Bianshan also lowered his head slightly, pretending that he hadn't heard anything. Li Fan looked thoughtful and said nothing. While Ren Guan beside him had a black face and expressionless, Heng Qing wrinkled his generous face into a ball with all his might, and turned back altogether. There was no way he was afraid that he could not help but laugh. I didn't expect my own sect leader to be so dark-hearted. This is really trying to sell others, and let others help count the money. It's not wanting face. I didn't pay for a spirit stones, and wanted to use someone else's extremely hot place, and they gave him 300,000 spirit stones. Ren Guan nodded secretly in his heart, no loss as sect leader. The depth of my mind is unfathomable. It seems that I haven't learned enough. I don't know when I can achieve sect leader. Mount Tai collapsed. The color doesn't change, and the face doesn't blush. Sect leader is really a role model for our generation. Lu Yu looked at Li Fan's solemn expression without saying a word, and his heart jumped. What I just said was that Li sect leader was upset. Indeed, it is so obvious that if you want to take advantage of others, let people take risks, everyone will feel unhappy in their hearts. And how can people like Realms Masters care about our trivial 300,000 spirit stones? Why? Lu Yu shook his head and sighed, but there was no way to give up like that. Li sect leader, I know that I was really abrupt, but you and our Purity Palace are also solid allies. Hope you can help us to tide over this difficulty, please. We are willing to add another 204th rank elixir and 103rd rank elixir as a gift. Lu Elder, you. Nothing, after all, I have a very close relationship with Qingjing Palace. I can help with this task. As for the elixir, I don't need it. Li Fan said. Lu Yu raised his eyebrows with joy and thanked again and again. In the end, at his insistence, Li Fan had to, reluctantly, accept the reward of the other party's 300,000 spirit stones and 300 high-rank elixir. The two agreed, and decided to wait for the 100 sects to explore the land of extreme fire together. 51%. Chapter 134. People from the Southern Moon Valley. After discussing the matter of the extreme fire land, Li Fan, Lu Yu and Chu Bianshan went to the Qingjing Palace, preparing to participate in the upcoming 100 Sect Council. After arriving at the Qingjing Palace, Li Fan went to the Great Hall of the Qingjing Palace alone, while Ren Guan and Heng Qing stayed in the reception room outside the Great Hall and waited for Li Fan. This level of meeting is not something that ordinary disciples like them can participate in. Those who can enter the Great Hall and participate in this meeting are all sect leaders invited by the Purity Palace. The disciples brought by these sect leaders are the same as Ren Guan and can only wait in the reception room. In the Great Hall of the Qingjing Palace with carved beams and paintings, two groups of seats are displayed on both sides of the Great Hall. At this moment, the invited sect leaders in the temple have been seated neatly, and Li Fan also led the way down to the first chair on the right side, and the seat was only in the host of the Qingjing Palace Palace Master Jining Zi down. Li Fan sat on the chair and looked at the people around him a little bit. Seeing that there were many innate realm masters among them, he was a little puzzled. I only heard that there is a Purity Palace in the Kanglan region that is the 6th rank power. I didn't expect to see 9 innate cultivators here in addition to the Purity Palace. It seems that I am sitting in a well and watching the sky. The cultivators behind him looked at him, but they didn't mean to talk to him. These people are all the old sect forces in the Kanglan domain, and they all have their own small circles. For a completely stranger who looks very young and has little strength, they have no intention to take the initiative to talk. Li Fan didn't care either. After all, he was considered a Taoist cultivator now, and there was nothing to talk about if he wasn't on the same level with these people. And according to his estimation of his own strength, although he is only on the 5th floor of the foundation building, he was able to fight against the 8 innate of the Pure Palace alone and easily win when he first entered the foundation building. Now he is on the 5th floor of the foundation building. He estimates that he can also fight the ordinary Mingguang realm, that is, the cultivator on the 2nd floor of the Dao realm, but he hasn't played against it and the outcome is still unknown. Thinking of this, Li Fan closed his eyes intently, quietly waiting for the official start of the parliament. At this time, the sect leaders sitting in the Great Hall looked very curious when they saw Li Fan being led by Elder of the Clean Palace to the first guest seat in the palace. At this time, the parliament had not yet started, and as the host of this place, the initiator of the alliance, Ji Ning, was still outside the temple as if to welcome some important person, and had not yet come in and seated. Therefore, many familiar sect leaders are whispering. Which sect leader is this person? Do any of you know? I haven't seen it. This person seems to be 5 years old, too young. Is he really a certain sect leader who is here to participate in the council? I haven't seen it before, and this person can hardly feel too much spiritual chi fluctuations in his body. It seems that his strength should be average, and at most he can raise the dirt. This person is indeed too young, but now that elder, who is from the Palace of Purity, can bring in and arrange for the first seat in the first row, although the strength may be average, he should have a deep background. Maybe it's a direct line of a big power in another domain. It's possible to take the place of that power to participate in the parliament. It's normal that we don't know each other. Quote. Everyone nodded, and this made sense. All the people present are the masters of a sect, and the people who can be invited by the Purity Palace are all sect forces of rank 7 or higher in the Kanglan domain. Which one is not a senior and powerful person? Although Li Fan seems to be young and realm is not high, but he definitely cannot underestimate it. They still understand the truth. However, this time the assembly is about the establishment of the Kanglan Domain 100 Sects Alliance. What does it have to do with other domains? I'm afraid it's wrong for Ji Ning to invite this person over. Everyone was puzzled. Suddenly a low voice rang in everyone's ears. A middle-aged man in a gray robe who seemed to be about 50 years old smiled and said, "Old Zhao, you guessed wrong this time. I have seen this person in the city of Kiran before. He is not a direct line of forces from Outland. This person is a sect leader of sect in Kanglan domain. I was sitting next to the disciples of this person before, and I heard that they seemed to be called Qian Yuanzong." Quote. Qian Yuanzong. Hearing the words of the middle-aged man in the gray robe, the round-faced man who just said that Li Fan might be a disciple of the great foreign forces blinked his mung-bean-sized eyes and asked, "Grandson, you can take this seriously, why haven't I heard it?" This is the name of Qian Yuanzong. It stands to reason that the person who can be invited by the Pure Palace is not the sect leader who has a face in the Kanglan domain. I have seen all the sect leaders in the Kanglan domain with 7th rank and above. Don't lie to me. Besides, if you are an innate realm cultivator eavesdropping on the chats of a few juniors, you still don't wanting face. Quote. The gray-robed man was unhappy when he heard this. He stared at the middle-aged man with a round face and said, "What good is it for me to lie to you?" When I heard his disciples chatting, they said that Qian Yuanzong belonged to the Wild Forest County in the Kanglan region. Sect. And at the time, I didn't have to overhear the small chats of the juniors, but his disciples said too loudly, saying that there was nothing in this market auction that they could appreciate. Later, until the map recording the location of the extreme fire appeared, the two people also said that they would definitely take the map easily when the sect leader came, so I didn't notice them. Quote. Wanglin County. I went to Wanglin County last year and never heard of such a power. I remember there is a sun-chasing palace over there. Ji Wu, the palace lord of the sun-chasing palace, is an individual talent. His gestures show that the blood qi is full and the spirit power is abundant. It seems that he should not be far from the Guangli realm. Now thinking about his sun-chasing palace, he should also become the 7th grade sect. I didn't see him this time. Old Sun, a middle-aged man with a round face, asked in confusion. But he didn't go into it. After all, Ji Wu's most karma is just a cultivator who has just stepped into the Guangli realm. The sun-chasing palace has just entered the 7th rank sect. Sect leader pays too much attention. As for what the gray-robed man said about the man's disciple bragging, they just smiled and bought the map for nothing. That map was sold at a high price of 480,000 spirit stones, and was finally bought by Qingjing Palace, which had nothing to do with Qian Yuanzong. The bullshit of a few babbled boys, they just smiled and didn't care. The few people chatted for a while, and they also roughly knew the origin of the young man sitting in the first seat. The little sect leader in a remote place in Wanglin County. His disciples like to brag who have never seen the world. They seem to have something to do with Lu Yu and Chu Bianshan in the Qingjing Palace. This time I was able to come to the Qingjing Palace to participate in the alliance of the hundreds of parliaments. Knowing these things, they lost interest in the young man. Those who are not strong yet don't know how to practice Ascension Realm hard, but just want to take shortcuts and build relationships with Purity Palace, they are not interested in making friends. You can count Zulian sect leader, we can wait for you from all the sect leaders in the Kanglan domain. Ji Ning's loud voice came. When everyone saw, Great Hall Wai Jining walked in with a man with a slightly tired look in his eyes but a tall and tough face. This person is the Zulian that Ji Ning said, and the person Ji Ning has been waiting outside the hall. Ji Ning arranged Shu Lian in a seat behind Li Fan, glanced around in the Great Hall, saw that everyone was there, and said, "Well, now that the Shu sect leader of the Southern Moon Valley has arrived, this time the 100 Sect Council can also start." 51%. Chapter 135 Old Fox Ji Ning. With Ji Ning seated, the assembly of hundreds of top sect leaders in Kanglan domain, which has been rare in 10 years, has officially begun. Every cultivator in the Great Hall looks a little silent. When there was such a big scene before, it was when Qirencheng was about to establish a comparison with the 10 territories once every 10 years 40 years ago. Those 2 times were considered happy events that benefited the Kanglan region, and the Kanglan region became more prosperous after the establishment of Kiran city, and the overall strength was also enhanced a lot. After that, the reputation of Kanglan region also gained some weight in the reckless big territory. It was no longer just the low-strength remote and small region in the outer territory, but also had a faint hope of competing for the territory master in the 10-territory competition. That's right, the domain owner of their Kanglan region has not been held by the local sect forces of the Kanglan region, but by one of the 10 people who won in the 10 regions competition. They became the last time in the 10 regions competition. The top 10 people who became the domain masters of their Kanglan domain are the cultivators of seizing the spirit domain. The weird design that destroys all domains has set off a war against their oppressive forces. The soul domain was the first to bear the brunt, and the entire sect and cultivator were all killed by surprise, and the soul domain was lost. Therefore, the domain owner of Kanglan region heard that there was a fire in his backyard, and the next big competition was about to start soon. Without the forces that seize the spirit realm, he wouldn't be able to enter the top 10 in the big competition by himself, so he simply resigned as the domain master ahead of time and left the Kanglan realm. Kanglan region has always been a member of the Wilderness Territory, and the appointment of the domain owner was held by the Lingshan king of the Wilderness Territory. Seeing that the next great compare is about to begin, they are very strong and want to take their own home. Seize the position of the domain master of the region. The sects are also making every effort to prepare, but at a critical moment, something went wrong in the southern Moon Valley region. How could they not be angry with the sect leaders of the Kanglan region's sect leaders? Because of this, the sect leaders of the Kanglan region didn't look very good, and even the eyes that looked at that Zulian were not so good. If it weren't for the people in the southern Moon Valley to be too wasteful, the weird calculations eliminated the oppressive power that could suppress the consumption of mist in the Weird Own region. As a result, the Nanyu Valley lost its usual restraint to the weirdness and fog, and the inhuman ghosts were fully recovered into the climate. As the neighbors of the Nanyu Valley, how could they fall into this embarrassing situation? It's like they didn't have anything to do in the Kanglan region. It is estimated that those weirdness are just picking things up, knowing that they are strong in the Kanglan region and dare not come. After all, this crisis shouldn't be what the Kanglan region have to face. That Nanyu Guyu was ashamed to send someone over to ask them for help. Well, this time, the southern Moon Valley suffered such a disaster. The 2 regions have been longtime allies. We have also received a lot of help from the southern Moon Valley in the past. We should help the southern Moon Valley to tide over the difficulties together. Yes. Ji Ning cleared his throat, seeing that everyone's expressions were a little unkind, breaking the heavy and embarrassing atmosphere. Hearing Ji Ning's words, everyone's faces became unnatural. When they were unable to resist the weird tides every year when the Kanglan region was in decline, Nanyu Valley region also helped them a lot. They also sent people to help them fight against the strangeness in the Kanglan region. Thinking of this, some of the thin-skinned faces were a little uncomfortable, but most people were still unmoved. Even if we had received their help before, it wasn't that we didn't pay the price. Didn't we use a lot of spirit stones, spirit mines, and all kinds of elixir? And by helping them resist the weirdness, wouldn't it also alleviate the crisis in the southern Moon Valley? If the Kanglan region was occupied by the southern Moon Valley, it would not be comfortable. This can only be regarded as a normal transaction. Moreover, after the establishment of Kiran city, the Kanglan region has absorbed a lot of talented disciples, and the strength of each sect is slowly increasing. As early as 10 years ago, the southern Moon Valley region was no longer needed to help through the weird tides. Now Nanyu Guyu wants them to send troops to help, but they must come up with a price that satisfies them. And if the danger is too great, no matter how high they bid, they will not take the risk. All this depends on the specific circumstances. Shu Lian, who was sitting next to Li Fan, cheered up, forced a smile and stood up to the people in the hall. First, he explained the current situation in the southern Moon Valley, and then said, "This time, you are willing to come to discuss with us." Yu Gaiu sent troops to help. Shu X thanked him in advance. As the representative of the southern Moon Valley region, I have reached a consensus with the various factions in our region. If you are willing to help this time, we in the Southern Moon Valley will come up with 20 million spirit stones, 103rd rank spells, 104th rank cultivation techniques, 10,000 4th rank elixir, and 35th ranks. The veins of the spirit mine serve as a reward for you all. Please read the friendship between our Nanu and Kanglan domains and help us through this crisis in Nanu Valley. Thanks, Shu. Quote. The tired Zulian lowered his head and bowed deeply to the people in the hall. As the only 5th rank sect leader and Taoist cultivator in the Southern Moon Valley, Shu Lian, if there is really no way, he would not put himself so low. Facing the many cultivation base realm people who are far worse than him, he murmured so low. But the Kanglan region was their last hope for the Southern Moon Valley region, and the rest of the regions couldn't quench their near thirst. The current situation in the Southern Moon Valley is extremely urgent. Because I don't understand those weird mist souls that are hard to find, it is in the confrontation of the weird army that many sect seniors are controlled by the powerful mist souls. A blow to the comrades behind him caused them a heavy loss. Their high-end combat power, an 8-realm cultivator, suddenly killed 8 people. Hundreds of 7-rank sects were wiped out, leaving no grass. The entire Southern Moon Valley region had not officially started the war, and their combat power had been reduced in half, otherwise they would be far from falling into the crisis of extinction in such a short period of time. The people in the Great Hall also felt a bit of sadness. Ji Ning helped Shu Lian, who was bowing, up, and comforted a few words. Then he said, if you have any ideas, you can put them forward now and we will discuss them together. Everyone in the hall was chatting and discussing. Some people felt that the Southern Moon Valley region had already shown their sincerity, and the rewards were also very generous, and it would be a good idea to help them. Some people think that it is enough to send a small number of disciples to support, get the reward, and then establish a defense line near the border of the Southern Moon Valley to resist the weirdness that may pass through the Southern Moon Valley and invade their Kanglan region. As long as the Kanglan region are not affected. Some people feel that the 10 territory grand competition is about to begin at this stage. If they send troops and throw a large number of their own masters into the Southern Moon Valley region, even if they judge the situation based on the battle situation, they should be able to solve the crisis. However, if the disciples of the martial arts lose a lot, it will also make them lose the opportunity to enter the top 10 of the competition. This was not worth the loss, so I refused to send troops to help, and agreed to only set up a line of defense at the border to resist the weird invasion of the Kanglan region. And some people feel that since the situation in the Southern Moon Valley is in such a crisis, they can fight for more benefits, since they can come up with a reward of 50 million spirit stones. Then we can also put out another 50 million. Why don't they ask for more benefits? They can wait and send troops when the Southern Moon Valley is about to be unable to hold on. Don't worry. Shu Lian heard that the people in the hall did not shy away from his words, and he sat on the chair with a flat expression, but the blue veins on his forehead showed that his heart was not so peaceful at this time. Now 100 sects are basically divided into 3 factions. One faction agrees to the existing conditions and immediately rushes to the Southern Moon Valley region, and the sorrow of the hare and the dead fox. If weirdness and those mist souls occupy the Southern Moon Valley and grow stronger, Kanglan region will follow in the footsteps of others. But everyone felt that such words were exaggerated. There was no civil strife in the Kanglan region, and they had been prepared. It was impossible for them to fall into the same situation. Therefore, the factions who agreed to rush to help immediately have the least supporters and the lowest voice, with only more than a dozen sect leaders voicing their support. The other faction felt that it would wait until the Southern Moon Valley region was about to die. They would try to turn the tide in order to get more benefits, and it would not be too late to send troops. The last faction is the conservatives who do not agree to send troops to help. According to them, as long as the defense line is established and prepared to prevent the Kanglan region from being implicated, there is no need to commit personal dangers for profit. If the people sent by the various sects really fail to return in the Southern Moon Valley, or if they just won a terrible victory in the end, can everyone afford such a price? Such a statement made everyone in the hall calm down. Yes, although the rewards given by the Southern Moon Valley region were very generous, it has not been easy for their various sects to develop up to now. If most of their own strength is ruined for this immediate benefit, what are they doing with spirit stones? It will take at least 10 years before they can regain their vitality. In this way, the competition for the domain owner will not be discussed at all, and they may not be able to pass the weird tide that will happen in a few months. Everyone gets more and more excited as they talk about it. Gradually, all your business is transformed into one, which is to build a line of defense and refuse to send troops. Old God Ji Ning was sitting in his seat, expressionless, not knowing what was thinking in Dao heart. Shu Lian's eyes were full of bloodshot eyes, and he firmly grasped the armrest of the chair, and the palm full of veins was about to crush the armrest. I think we should send people to help Nanyu Valley. An indifferent and low voice came out, quieting Great Hall, which was about to become a pan of porridge. The sect leaders in the hall looked at the person who made the sound, with a puzzled face. What does this person mean? Junior who brought in at this time, is there a place for him to speak here? I don't understand the rules at all. An excited old man with a stern look and a square face heard this and said loudly, Wonko, do you understand what it means to send troops? In case, we will be put into danger instead of helping the southern Moon Valley. Do you take this responsibility? What are you? Li Fan glanced at Ji Ning with a smile at the corner of his mouth, shook his head helplessly and stood up. His face was cold, and he looked at the square-faced old man. Dare to talk to me like this, what kind of thing are you? 52%. Chapter 116. Li Sect Leader, this is done, I will bring 200,000 spirit stones to the door to apologize, please. Li Fan remembered the voice transmission that Ji Ning secretly gave him before the meeting began. Looking at the square-faced old man said, Dare to talk to me like this, what are you? Hearing Li Fan's words, the hundreds of sect leaders in the audience looked different, and the smell of fire and medicine on the scene became stronger. Ji Ning leaned on the chair and did not get up, but said in a casual tone, Miao Sect Leader, Li Sect Leader, this time the 100 Sects Council is for everyone to talk freely and discuss together to fight against weird things. There is no need for a little disagreement. Just get angry. You say yes, sit down, don't hurt your peace. Ji Ning's words fell, and the elder Miao Ji, who was angry at Li Fan for not knowing the rules, gave a cold snort, and had no intention of letting the matter go uncovered. If today he is an innate realm peak cultivator being scolded by a junior, just because Na Ji Ning would forget the blame and become a tortoise with a word, he won't have to mess around in the Kanglan domain anymore. At this time, the atmosphere in the hall became more solemn, and everyone in the hall was angry. This person is too arrogant, but he was able to participate in this 100 sect council because of a little relationship with the Pure Palace. Since he came here and waited quietly for the experience of dealing with seniors, he even dared to scold Miao Ji Sect Leader. HMPH, this kid is still too young, too high-spirited to think that he will not put others to put in one's eyes if he climbs high branches, but he doesn't know that others can help you for a while but can't help you. This world has only one's own strength. It is the foundation of life. Miao Sect Leader is one of the top 10 sixth-rank sects of Kanglan Domain. The veteran innate realm peak cultivator. Even the sect leader of the Pure Palace, Ji Ning, will call him senior when he sees Miao Lao. It has something to do with the Pure Palace, and the Pure Palace cannot protect him. The momentum of development of the Qingjing Palace over the years has been very rapid. It has faintly established itself as the first overlord of the Kanglan Domain. Now it is really more arrogant. I don't know that the Kanglan Domain is the Kanglan Domain built by us. It's not his family of Purification Palace. Yes, no one of us in the Kanglan region is a savvy person. How can we allow this kid to be so presumptuous in front of me, just for Miao Sect Leader to teach him? There is also the position of the leader of the 100 Sects Alliance this time. As the leader of the alliance, you must be served by someone with high morals and able to serve the public. If the Palace of Purity insists on favoring this kid regardless of everyone's wishes, if the position of the leader of the alliance comes to the Palace of Purity, Lu Ji was the first to refuse. Yes, let Miao Sect Leader teach this arrogant boy. If the Purity Palace protects this unruly boy this time, it doesn't matter if the 100 councils don't participate. The voices of the people on the field became louder and louder, and Ji Ning, who was sitting on the high platform, didn't shy away from it, just to unite and use words to block the back road of the Purity Palace. Seeing that this time, they had planned for it a long time ago. Just want to take advantage of this fight against the Weird Council to pull the Purity Palace from the position of the overlord of the Kanglan region, and don't want the Purity Palace to ride on their heads. The Purity Palace has taken away too much resources in the Kanglan region in recent years. In the Kanglan region, 30% of the secret realms rich in elixir and spirit mines are held by the Purity Palace. This has made them very dissatisfied, but no one wanted to be this early bird before. After all, the strength of the Purity Palace lies here. The 8th innate realm cultivator sits in town, and his disciples are strong. None of these people can bear the anger that angers the Purity Palace alone, and this time is different. Everyone reached a consensus on this matter. In this way, everyone in the field looked at Li Fan's expressions with some joking and sympathy. This time, Li Fan's words were just a guide fire solicitation. Their fundamental purpose is to drag the Purity Palace into the water to bear their anger. As for dealing with this arrogant child, it is just incidental. If you want to blame yourself for being so stupid and not strong enough, you are so arrogant. Young people have to pay the price for their own mistakes. No one here will be as used to you as your parents, and the price of doing something wrong is death. Seeing that the atmosphere in the hall had dried up, the Purity Palace had also been put on the fire by everyone and could not be moved lightly. A smile flicked across Miao Ji's mouth. This time, thanks to the words of Lao Jiao and the others, I learned about the relationship between this kid and the Purity Palace, and I can also take the opportunity to beat the increasingly greedy Purity Palace. Compete for more resources and benefits for themselves. He looked at Li Fan indifferently, just like looking at another ant. Miao Ji coldly said, "Boy, for decades, you are the first to dare to talk to the old man like this, so today I will educate you on behalf of your parents." After that, I looked at Ji Ning, who was sitting in the chair. At a glance, the eyes are meaningful, but Ji Ning looked anxiously entangled, and stopped talking. Several times to persuade, but they were all blocked by everyone, and in the end they could only sit on a chair feebly, with a helpless look. Shu Lian's anger surged behind Li Fan. Through the conversations with everyone just now, he knew that it would be impossible for them to get help from these people in the field in the southern Moon Valley. In this case, he didn't need to be so low-pitched. His own sect, including the powerlessness of the entire southern Moon Valley region, and the indifferent and ugly faces of the many people in the Kanglan region who had been blessed by their southern Moon Valley region, made him even more chilling. Now the only one who is willing to speak for the southern Moon Valley region and willing to send troops to help is still being targeted like this, and he will be bombarded and killed by everyone in the field. How can he just sit back and watch? The southern Moon Valley region is about to be destroyed, and his disciples and friends in the region can't survive, so how can he have the face to live alone? Left and right are also dead. Shu Lian stood up. "Little friend, I'll send you out of here," Shu Lian said with a murderous face full of anger. "Shu sect leader, what do you mean? This is our Kanglanyu family affair, do you want to intervene? Don't you care about the life and death of Nanyu Valley?" When Shu Lian heard the people's words, his expression did not waver, and he snorted coldly. "Do you really think that Shu has lived for nothing at such an old age? Why bother to say this kind of joke?" Miao Ji hesitated when he saw Shu Lian standing in front of Li Fan. The solid spirit power on his body was also condensed. This Shu Lian is probably dead-hearted. A cultivator who is desperate to smell, is really troublesome. "Shu sect leader, I said that Kanglan domain will rush to the southern Moon Valley to help, so sit down." Li Fan, who was completely ignored by everyone, smiled slightly when he saw Shu Lian standing in front of him, palm of his hand. Lightly put it on Shu Lian and then looked at Miao Zidao, who looked hesitant. "As for you, come if you want to do it." 52%. Chapter 137. Shu Lian sat down sluggishly, looking surprised. What happened just now? The strength in this young man is so strong. He hadn't even wanted to sit down just now, but the power from the young man made him completely unable to resist the cultivator of the Taoist realm, and he was forced to press down. How could he not be surprised by this? Seeing Shu Lian seated, Miao Ji heaved a sigh of relief and said, "Boy, this is what you want to die. Don't blame me. Since you are in such a hurry to reincarnate, I will give you a happy one in a while, just treat it as right. You thanked you for being so witty." Four-way strength. Miao Ji moved his 5 fingers together and moved straight to Li Fan's head with a shocking palm. Boom. A strong wind came from Li Fan and Miao Ji and swept across the country. In the Great Hall, the full force of the cultivator of the Guanli realm cannot cause half damage. The ground paved by Qingtaoyan in the 5th rank spirit mine is fragmented, densely packed with cracks covering the Great Hall, even extending to the Great Hall. Outside the reception room, a huge roar accompanied by the dust aroused by the crushing of Qingtaoyan, a Taoist shadow flew out from the dust like a rag bag, and fell heavily in the middle of the Great Hall. Miao sect leader's shot is so powerful, the power of one blow is earth-shattering. This kid's head is gone. Miao sect leader is kind, and he didn't suffer any pain. Look, this is Miao sect leader's clothes. What? The dust in the hall was scattered by the crowd, revealing the complete figure on the ground. The whole body is like cracked porcelain, the head is gone, and it can't be distinguished. Only the tattered purple robe on his body can vaguely distinguish the clothes of an 8-realm peak cultivator Miao Ji. Everyone turned their heads and looked around, only to see Li Fan's face as usual, gently dusting the non-existent dust on the robes. Miao Sect leader is dead. How can it be? It's so murderous, it's such a murderous attack at a young age. Seeing that Li Fan in the palace killed Miao Ji at the peak of innate realm with one move, everyone's expressions were gloomy, and their hearts were terrified, and they all fell silent. Only a few people who had good acquaintances with Miao Ji were angry at Li Fan, attacking him too hard, and attacking him in public. But most of them closed their mouths tightly. He didn't even think that this young and overly powerful young man was so amazing that he killed Miao Ji with one move. As the cultivator of innate's peak, Miao Ji is half-footed into the Tao realm. Among the 100 people in the field, only 5 or 6 can be compared with him. This kind of existence has been beaten by the palm of his head. How dare they say more? Li Fan can kill Miao Ji with one move, so he can kill them with one move. Moreover, this young man didn't commit an unprovoked murder, but Miao Ji insisted on taking others' prestige to kill him, but now he was counter-killed. That can only mean that he did not recognize the opponent's strength and died unjustly. Li Fan looked at the 2 people who accused him of being too heavy, and said coldly, "He was kind to me as a killer, and I was cruel to kill him. You 2 are so powerful and prestigious. The truth in this world is completely destroyed. You take it." The 2 middle-aged men standing beside Miao Ji's corpse were a little frightened looking at Li Fan's cold eyes. Then I remembered the sound transmission of the other 8 6th-rank sect leaders in the temple just now. Zhou Dongzu, Gong Sect Master, among these people brutally murdered Miao Ji Sect leader. If I wait and watch, then the Pure Palace will become so strong that it will become stronger. I am afraid that there will be no place for me to stand in the Kanglan region in the future. For a while, you 2 will come forward as friends of Miao Ji to count the crimes of the murderous man, which aroused the anger of the crowd. I will forcefully suppress the Qingjing Palace and the murderous man with great power. Today, I will definitely make them pay the price. Together, I completely cut off the way I was waiting for Sect. Don't worry, once the murderer's action is exactly what we want, I will join hands and the murderer will not be able to resist even the Taoist cultivator, and the Purity Palace and the murderer will be overwhelmed by the anger of everyone present, to become the villain that Qinfu refers to, and can no longer be an obstacle to us. This Kanglan region is ultimately our Kanglan region. Quote. The 2 became calm in their hearts, and pointed to Li Fan and said, "Today is 100 discussions, discussing and forming an alliance to fight against the weird thing. You outrageously killed sect leader Miao Ji and ganged up with the Qingjing Palace. You want to cut off all the sects in the Kanglan domain. No way to survive. Today, you can kill Miao Sect leader. Tomorrow, is it right that which sect makes you uncomfortable will be killed by you in an instant? This Kanglan region is the place for everyone to live, and I am not the beast that you wicked people want to take or seize. Even if the 2 of us die in your hands today, we will not succumb to your evil deeds." Quote. Bang bang bang. Li Fan looked at the 2 people who were willing to give up their lives and clapped their hands. It's so embarrassing, and the other is full of evil. The attitude of the 2 to sacrifice their lives really made Li couldn't help but applaud. I am almost impressed by your lofty spirit. Quote. Everyone was stunned, not knowing what Li Fan meant. When Zhou and Gong heard what Li Fan didn't know, they said, "What do you mean?" Li Fan glanced at several 6th-rank sect leaders in the field, and saw no waves in his eyes. Just now 2 people spoke to him, and those 2 were 2 of the 8 6th-rank sect leaders. Li Fan turned his head and glanced at Ji Ning, who was sitting firmly on the high platform. Ji Ning nodded slightly to Li Fan. Li Fan's heart responded, "Good guy, you can't resist the mess of your cleansing palace, let me help you deal with it, it's really not wanting face." However, the 200,000 spirit stones promised by Ji Ning transmission and him were changed to 500,000 spirit stones after his friendly consultation. He still decided to carry the pot on his back. 500,000 spirit stones plus the 300,000 spirit stones promised to explore the extreme fire land, and after my multiplying system increases 0.80 million spirit stones. This cleansing palace is really generous. I just don't see people suffer, I still have to help with this favor. Li Fan thought in his heart. He slowly scanned the people in the hall, and said solemnly, "Everyone has seen what happened just now. I just said my own idea. If I propose to help the Nanyu Valley, Miao Ji will kill me. I had no other choice but to fight back. Who would have thought that his strength was so bad, and he would die immediately? I can't blame it for this. I believe everyone can understand. The crowd blushed, and they nodded slightly. Then Miao Ji started to die first. Of course everyone understands the matter, but you also added a sentence that you didn't expect, that Miao Ji's strength is so low. What does it mean? According to you, that being said, aren't we even worse than waste? Forget it. If you force you to have the final say, let's bear it, and see what else you have to say. Quote. Zhou and Gong wanted to refute, but saw Li Fan's murderous eyes. They held the words in their mouths, and did not dare to say more. Anyway, they have already raised public opinion, and the other 8 sixth-rank sect leaders of Kinglan Domain have also made it clear that they are not afraid of Li Fan turning the sky. 52%. Chapter 138. The Cardinal Behind. Li Fan paused and nodded slightly when he saw everyone, and continued, as for my proposal that we must immediately help the Southern Moon Valley to eliminate the weird things, there is a reason. If we just passively defend, let the Southern Moon Valley be occupied by weirdness. Then, within a year of Kanglan Domain, life will be overwhelmed, and the whole domain will be reduced to death, and even I will not be able to survive the endless weird frenzy. Quote. When this remark came out, everyone was shocked. What? Those weird Nanu Valley territories, which were only hit by surprise, retreated unpreparedly. With the people in the Kanglan region that they have prepared, how could they not be able to resist the weirdness of the area? Each of their sects has been standing in the land of the Kanglan region for decades. The annual weird tides have been experienced dozens of times, and the weirdness is not so terrible to them. This is a bit alarmist, don't you think we are fools? Everyone looked at Li Fan questioningly. And Li Fan didn't care, and continued. I know you don't believe it, but I happen to have seen those weird arrangements in the Kanglan region some time ago. The location is in the Red Ridge Stone Forest. There is a land engraved with twisted runes, and those mysterious invisible shadows that can control people's minds breed on that land, and their name is Fog Soul. At the beginning, some of my companions and I entered the Redrich Stone Forest to search for the same spirit mine, and I could not discover the secrets inside when I strayed into it, but we were lucky enough to destroy the weird formation that could breed mist souls after 9 deaths. If you don't believe me, you can ask Zulian's sect leader, he should have seen the mist souls I mentioned. Quote. Then Li Fan explained the characteristics of the fog soul he had seen to everyone in detail, so that they could check with Shu Lian. Shu Lian was surprised at why Li Fan knew his mist soul in the Southern Moon Valley so well. However, he stood up and said, I can prove that the thing Li sect leader called Fog Soul is indeed the same as the thing that appeared in our Southern Moon Valley, and its characteristics are the same, and it is extremely difficult to restrain it. Unless you have the magical item that protects your spirit and mind, or you have a spell to restrain evil, you will inevitably be controlled by the mist soul, even the innate realm cultivator can't resist it. Quote. When these words came out, everyone in the Great Hall was stunned. Is that what Li Fan said is true? At the beginning, he really encountered the magic circle that breeds the strange mist soul in the Red Ridge Stone Forest, and he also destroyed it. In this way, it's not that Kanglan region was not counted strangely because of its strength, but someone secretly solved the crisis in Kanglan region in advance, and who was Li Fan, who they had just looked down on and was grieving. Many people actually heard what Shu Lian said, and they believed in half of what Li Fan said. Many of them were ashamed and felt that their opinions and attitudes towards Li Fan were too much. This was for the sake of the Kanglan region and secretly saved the people in the Kanglan region. They even glared at him just now, and now they are so embarrassed to see people. Even Ji Ning, who was calm from start to finish, was a little surprised at this moment. Did sect leader Li really saved Kanglan domain secretly once? Not acting. At this moment, a voice interrupted everyone's thoughts. Li sect leader is really righteous, and he used his own power to save the Kanglan region from the water and fire. Had it not been for Li sect leader to say today that Kanglan domain had also been in crisis, we still don't know about it, and if he did such a righteous thing but did not make public, I would admire it. Quote. Xie Cheng, the owner of Zonlongshan Mountain, one of the 8 sixth-rank sects, said. Yes, Li sect leader is really a righteous person. He is indifferent to fame and fortune. I really admire him. Seeing Xie Cheng's words, many people also agreed. But Xie Cheng paused, and then said, since sect leader Li has seen the weird array that nourishes the mist soul, I wonder if he can take me to see it. Let us have a general understanding of the place that nourishes the mist soul. Maybe we can find some of the weaknesses of the mist soul in it, and find a method of restraint against it, so that we can be more sure when we rush to the Southern Moon Valley region. Quote. Xie Cheng looked at Li Fan with a smile on his face. His words were not leaking, and on the surface it was a compliment that was indeed questionable. If Li Fan can really take them to the Redrich Stone Forest to find the place full of twisted runes to nourish the fog soul as evidence, then he has nothing to say. But if what Li Fan said just now, he was just partnering with Shu Lian from the Outland to deceive them. So today, he will surely make Qingjing Palace and this Li Fan ruined. It's you who gave me the handle. Xie Cheng stared at Li Fan's heart. Yes, Li Sect leader, I also have some shallow insights on the formation. If we can really see the root cause of the weird disasters in various domains, maybe we all can brainstorm and find a solution. This is another one. A good thing that has benefited billions of cultivators. Yes, Sect leader Li, take me to the weirdly arranged magic circle. This. Ji Ning frowned slightly, a little confused. Did he really meet and solve the weird arrangement in the Kanglan region in the Redrich Stone Forest? If not, then this matter may be troublesome, and the situation that was originally good for Purity Palace may be ruined. It was clear that he could easily stabilize the situation by cooperating with the two sixth-rank sect leaders I secretly wooed, and exposing those few people who just stepped up to guide the public opinion, Zhou and Gong, who had secretly discussed with them. This time everyone's arrogance against the Purity Palace was broken. But why do you have to do so many times? Is it just trying to panic and show the limelight? Then this lie is too inferior. Quote. Ji Ning found that he couldn't see through Li Fan's thoughts. Shu Lian, who was on the side, was even more anxious when he heard what everyone said. Obviously, the people in Kanglan region rushed to help Nanyu Valley region just now, and they were already quite sure. Now, because everyone has asked to meet the place where the foggy souls are breeding, if what Li Fan said just now is just casual nonsense, then their hope of gasping in the southern Moon Valley will soon be shattered. How does this make his mind? Not urgent. Shu Lian glared at Xie Cheng, who had a knife hidden in the smile that caused the topic, wishing to tear his mouth. Li Fan smiled at the dubious, half-truth and half-truth of everyone, ignoring Ji Ning's secret voice transmission. He opened his mouth and said, okay, but the Red Ridge Stone Forest is not close to the Qingjing Palace. This time I am afraid it will take a lot of time. It's okay. For the sake of the Kanglan region, the southern Moon Valley region, and the safety of the entire wild wilderness, I am willing to contribute a collection of teleportation formations. With this formation, we can rush to Li Sect leader's office in a moment. Where to say? Xie Cheng's face is full of benevolence and righteousness. This old thief has been planning for a long time. Ji Ning and Shu Lian said angrily in their hearts. Then please thank Sect leader. Li Fan smiled slightly and informed everyone of the location of the twisted runes in the Redrich Stone Forest. Seeing Li Fan being so calm, Xie Cheng couldn't figure it out. Could it be that what this kid said is true? Then I lost my wife and broke down. However, he still gritted his teeth and took out the treasured teleportation map. This teleportation map is very cherished. It was acquired by a foreign cultivator with his accumulated wealth for many years. It was originally left to own whole cards at a crisis. After determining the location of the teleportation, it can be teleported once in both directions. After the past, the map will be discarded. But at the moment the arrow is on the string and has to be sent. With the help of the smiling Li Fan, Xie Cheng arranged the teleportation array in his heart. Hundreds of sect leaders in the hall, together with Ji Ning and Shu Lian, stepped into the formation. A ray of light flashed away, and everyone disappeared from the Great Hall. Half an hour later, a white light flashed in the Great Hall of the Sect of the Purity Palace, and the disappeared people appeared again. It's just that compared with before, everyone's faces at this moment are full of solemnity. Xie Cheng's face turned black, angrily wanting to vomit blood. After arriving at the Redrich Stone Forest just now, everyone really found the place Li Fan said in it. In particular, there are more than 10 sect leaders who are proficient in the way of formation. After seeing the earth full of twisted runes for the first time, they are deeply immersed in it. After a while, his face was solemn and contented, and he said, Sect leader Li said yes, this big formation is definitely set up by those strange aliens. The pattern and arrangement of this big formation are completely the same as those of our cultivator, different. There are also runes on this earth, which should be the unique symbols of those weird people. I have only seen it in other places before, but it is not as complicated and dense here. This place is very helpful for me to study those weirdness, maybe we can really find some way to restrain those weird misty souls. Quote. Hearing the words of these dozen sect leaders and seeing them with their own eyes, everyone was completely convinced by Li Fan's words. At this moment, no one in the Great Hall raised questions about Li Fan, and no one cared about Zhou and Gong's criticism of Li Fan's killing of Miao Ji. People's hearts have fallen to Li Fan's side. At this moment, Zhou and Gong looked pale when they faced the indifference and exclusion from the surrounding crowd. The two looked at the 8th 6th rank sect leader who had just communicated with them and said they would support them. The 8 people turned a blind eye to their eyes. Ji Ning and Shu Lian are still thinking about what they saw in the Red Ridge Stone Forest just now. It turns out that is the method used by the Weirs to break through the boundaries of the suppression. Then does our southern Moon Valley also have such a place, which hides this big formation? Shu Lian thought in his heart. With the compliments of everyone on Li Fan, everyone in the field has now fully recognized Li Fan. A young talent with strong strength, kind heart, and no fame and fortune is enough to make everyone value and admire. With the twists and turns that happened before, the matter of rushing to the southern Moon Valley region was finalized in no time. In the Great Hall, a sect leader who had just been addicted to studying the big formations of the Redridge Stone Forest suddenly spoke out. I think the assistance to the southern Moon Valley this time was facilitated by Li Sect Leader alone, and Li Sect Leader is the only one of us who has experience with those weird mist souls. With the lead of Li Sect Leader, we can deal with it. It will be easier to pick up those weird and foggy souls. How about letting Li Sect Leader assume the position of leader? Quote. As soon as this remark came out, everyone was talking about it. This makes sense. Yes, Sect Leader Li has experience in dealing with those misty souls. It is more appropriate for him to act as the leader of the battle plan. Indeed, no one else in the room is more qualified to be the leader than Li Sect Leader. You should be the leader of Li Sect Leader. Li Fan pretended to be shy, and quickly shied away, but in the end he couldn't shirk, so he had to, reluctantly, take the name of the leader. After that, I did not forget the sound transmission and Ji Ning, to live up to the trust of Palace Master Ji. This time the resentment of the sects of the Kanglan region towards the Purity Palace has been completely resolved, and this time the matter is considered to be successfully completed. Forget the previous promise. And Ji Ning's old face was tangled up. Obviously he didn't expect things to develop like this. He calculated so much and secretly attracted several sect leaders of the 6th rank sect in order to get the position of the leader, but he did not say that he wanted to be the leader of the leader with Li Fan. It's just that everyone has been grudges against Purity Palace for a long time. I am afraid that this time the 100 Sects Council will take the opportunity to attack. Li Fan will help to stop the knife and solve it. But I didn't expect Li Fan to pick the peaches as the last leader. He squinted at Li Fan and was silent again. Damn it, forget it. 53%. Chapter 139. Li Fan was pushed to the position of leader. Ji Ning and the other 6th rank sect leaders in the field had their own thoughts, and they were a little unwilling. But for a while, he couldn't think of any way to take the position of leader from Li Fan, so he had to admit his fate. Especially the few people who have been unable to understand the Palace of Purity, think carefully. Instead of taking the position of the leader of this alliance by Na Ji Ning, it is better to let Li Fan take the post, and I feel a lot of comfort in my heart. In this way, Li Fan decided to unify everyone's opinions, and the sect leader of the 100 sects of the Kanglan region together dispatched his disciples to form a team to assist in the southern Moon Valley. Among them, the 10 6th rank forces in the Kanglan region. No, it should be said that they are the 9 6th rank forces. Miao Ji is dead, and his 6th rank sect Senluo Temple is dead. All received by Li Fan. Because of the lessons learned, Li Fan did not intend to include the people of Senluo Temple in Qianyuanzong, but planned to send all the people of Senluo Temple to the southern Moon Valley to participate in the battle and make meritorious deeds. As long as these people can get out of the battlefield alive, Li Fan promises that everyone in Senluodian can re-establish Sect, and he will not interfere with Senluodian. As for the remaining 9 6th rank sects, it was decided after Li Fan's discussion with everyone that each sect sent 5,000 disciples to participate in the battle. Among these 5,000 people, the lowest cultivation base must be above the dirt-raising stage. As for all the remaining 7th rank sects in the Kanglan domain, each sect must send 3,000 disciples to participate in the battle. The same principle applies to the lowest cultivator, the cultivation base, which must be above the dirt-raising realm. Moreover, every cultivator above the dirty raising realm must all be dispatched, and they cannot avoid fighting. This is equivalent to mobilizing all 80% of the cultivator in each case, leaving only 20% of the personnel to stay in Sect to prevent accidents. This approach can be said to be very radical, but it is already the best way everyone can choose after listening to Shu Lian's description of the current situation in the southern Moon Valley. After all, the battlefield I went to this time was the southern Moon Valley, where the suppressing power of the domain had been wiped out. Among them, many weird fogs were also very dense. The cultivator with too low cultivation base was just going to die in vain. Only the cultivator can fight in the foggy environment for a long time above the cultivation realm. If the cultivation base is lower, I am afraid that you will be lost in the fog before you can fight the weird head-on. Under this premise, if each sect wants to gather enough combat power to suppress the weird army in the southern Moon Valley, they must send out most of the disciples under each sect. Because the enemy everyone is facing this time is too powerful, according to Shu Lian's description, the strange army formed in the southern Moon Valley now has at least 300,000. This has not yet counted those misty souls who can't see the traces and are fascinated by ghosts. In the end, everyone in the Great Hall discussed, and the number of cultivators sent to the southern Moon Valley to support this time also reached 320,000. Among them, there are 30 people in innate realm cultivator. These innate cultivators were made up by the Purity Palace and the other 6th rank sects. Each of these sects only left one innate cultivator behind, and the rest were all merged into the army to assist the southern Moon Valley. There are more than 24,000 people in the Guanlijing cultivator under innate. There are more than 40,000 people in the cultivator. There are more than 260,000 people in the cultivator. In conjunction with the remaining 200,000 cultivators above the dirty realm in the southern Moon Valley, this is an incomparably huge combat power. Li Fan and the sect leaders in the temple carefully analyzed them and agreed that the 500,000 and 200,000 cultivators above the viscera are enough to completely remove all the weirdness in the southern Moon Valley and save the southern Moon Valley from the crisis. NS. After all the discussions were completed, the 100 parliamentary affairs this time also came to a successful conclusion. The sect leaders of the various schools also got up from the Great Hall of the Purity Palace and left, preparing to dispatch all the disciples as soon as possible. 7 days later, they will gather in Chungping County, which borders the Kanglan region and the Nanyu Valley, to go to the Nanyu Valley. Many cultivators of their own sect leader are waiting for chat in the meeting hall of the Purity Palace. In the reception hall, dozens of cultivators were surrounded by a crowd, one of which was a handsome white cultivator surrounded by a smile. Brother Zhao, Yuanfa Jai is the top 6th rank sect in the Kanglan domain, and the news is notoriously well informed. This time, what the 100 Sects Council is discussing, Brother Zhao should have some understanding. Let us talk about it. Waiting outside here for so long is boring to death. Quote. Yes, Brother Zhao, seeing you have a confident look, you must know something about the 100 councils held in the Purity Palace this time. This time the battle is so big, it must be something important, otherwise it is impossible to summon so many sect forces to come to discuss, but our sect leader did not tell me what is waiting for. We dare not ask more. Brother Zhao, if you know, tell us about it. The white cultivator Zhao Yu put away the folding fan in his hand and smiled slightly. This time, I really know a little bit about the next thing. Zhao Yu paused, glanced at everyone around him with expectant eyes and continued. Have you heard of what happened in the wild and wild realm where we are recently? What's the matter? Everyone looked puzzled, but some people were amazed when they heard Zhao Yu's words. Brother Zhao is talking about the weird crisis that erupted in each domain in the wild and wild region. Someone asked. Zhao Yu nodded. Yes, that's exactly what happened. This time, among the 13 regions of the wild and wild region, 10 regions suddenly broke out this kind of crisis. For some reason, a large number of weird people suddenly gathered in each region. The sect forces in the domain launched an attack, and this time, the Purity Palace gathered sects of the 7th rank and above in the Kanglan domain to convene a meeting, and the matter was also related to this. The faces of the people around Zhao Yu showed a clear expression. It turned out to be here to discuss this matter, but nothing like this happened in the Kanglan domain. What is there to talk about? And it's just weird. The disciples of each sect have experienced it many times. Every year when the weird tide comes, each sect will face endless strange attacks. But those weird strengths are not high, and they don't have much intelligence. They may be more dangerous for sects below rank 7, but there is no crisis for the sects where the cultivators are present. Their sects are strong in luck. With the shelter of heavenly Tao, every time weird tide comes, we only need to face a few weird attacks. Most of the weirdness are unconsciously wandering around and turning a blind eye to their sects. Only low-grade sects will be besieged by a large number of weird discoveries. Quote. Sure enough, someone in the crowd was puzzled and questioned, Brother Zhao, but this weird attack has nothing to do with our Kanglan region, and there are some weird ones with low strength. What is there to be afraid of? Sect leader is here to discuss what? Zhao Yu took a sip of tea and replied, although our Kanglan region is okay, but there are a lot of weirdness suddenly appearing in the southern Moon Valley that borders our Kanglan region. Nanyu Valley can't resist naturally coming to us. Lan Yu asked for help, so this time the sect leaders came to discuss sending troops to support the southern Moon Valley. It is estimated that the sect leaders of Sect will come out in a while, and you will naturally know these things when you return to the Sect. And this time supporting the southern Moon Valley region is also a good thing for us. Quote. Hearing Zhao Yu's explanation, everyone was a little curious. How could the strength of this southern Moon Valley region be so bad? Some sudden weirdness can defeat them, and they have to come to our Kanglan region for help. And what does the good thing Zhao Yu said? Is it a good thing to do hard work for others? In response, Zhao Yu shook his head and said, everyone has been practicing for so many years, and they should have seen a lot of weirdness, and everyone should have killed a lot of weirdness. Although those ghosts have many strange abilities and are relatively difficult to kill, most of their strength is around the dirt-raising realm. At most, they can occasionally encounter a few weird strengths in the Guanli realm. As long as it is not besieged by a large number of weirdness, it is not too threatening to us people, so it is not dangerous for us to support the southern Moon Valley here. And the Nanyu Valley region coming to ask for help will inevitably bring enough benefits to the various sects in the Kanglan region, otherwise the sects will not help this in vain. Therefore, if we go to the southern Moon Valley to help this trip, it is possible to harvest thousands of spirit stones with good luck. In addition, the spiritual chi of the southern Moon Valley is rich in elixir, and many precious and valuable elixir can be encountered along the way. Although most of these elixir are cultivated by each of the sects, the Nanyu Valley is now too busy to take care of them. It's ours if you meet it. You said that there is no danger and good gains. Isn't this a good thing? Quote. After Zhao Yu's explanation, many cultivators finally came to appreciate it. Yes, you can get a lot of spirit stones and elixir into your account once you go out and just go around. This is of course a great thing. Although all the people present are major disciples of the Kanglan domain, the sect forces should not be underestimated. But their usual practice resources are not so abundant. Of course, for them, the more spirit stones and elixir, the better. If going to the southern Moon Valley this time can get resources worth thousands of spirit stones, their cultivation base will also be able to ascension faster. Thinking of this, everyone looked happy, and began to think of their dreams of making a fortune in the southern Moon Valley with their respective sects, looking forward to heading to the southern Moon Valley as soon as possible. Zhao Yu looked at the excited expressions of the crowd for a moment and then said, these resources provided by the southern Moon Valley region are, at best, the icing on the cake for us, and spirit stones can't be said to be much. There is one more thing, which is extremely precious to each of us. Quote. Hearing this, everyone looked at Zhao Yu suspiciously. What do you mean? There are thousands of spirit stones harvested when you go out and stroll around. It's not that much. Are there more precious treasures in the southern Moon Valley? Brother Zhao, we know that Wanfa Jai is well informed, so please don't confuse our appetite. In addition to the elixir rich in the Nanyu Valley, what precious treasures are there that you can claim to be extremely precious to each of us? Quote. That treasure is actually not in the southern Moon Valley, but in our Kanglan region. If we can get that opportunity, we can ignore the big advancement of Bottleneck Realm in our practice, and even give us a great opportunity to enter the realm in the future. Zhao Yu narrowed his eyes slightly and said impressively. What? We are in the Kanglan region. Have any treasures appeared in the Kanglan region recently? Why don't I know? Brother Zhao, what on earth do you want to say? How could there be such a treasure that can ignore the bottleneck and still give us the opportunity to enter the Dao realm? You wouldn't be lying to us. Wait, Brother Zhao, you are talking about the map showing the traces of the extreme fire land that appeared in Fengxi today. Didn't the map be photographed by the Qingjing Palace? How can we get involved? Zhao Yu said. Yes, it's the map of the extreme fire land that was photographed by the Qingjing Palace. If I wait to enter the extreme fire land, it is normal to break through a large realm in a short time. If I can insight into that extreme the immortal meaning contained in Nine Heavens' profound fire in the land of fire, entering the Dao realm in the future will only be a matter of course. This, Brother Zhao, are you joking? Don't you still want to grab the map of the extreme fire land from the Purity Palace? Are you crazy? Yes, Brother Zhao said cautiously, be careful that the disaster comes out of your mouth. Everyone around Zhao Yu whispered. But Zhao Yu, who was surrounded by the crowd, didn't care. He smiled and said, where are you going? I mean if the sect leaders really decide to send troops to the southern Moon Valley to fight the weirdness. So now is a great opportunity. We can make suggestions to the sect leaders to exchange for an opportunity to practice in the extreme fire land before sending troops to the southern Moon Valley region. After all, everyone was also fighting for the Kanglan region during this trip, and the land of extreme fire was not a one-time secret realm. It is completely possible for us cultivators who are about to go to the southern Moon Valley to fight against the weird to enter it, practice for a few days, and ascension to their strength. Our strength is ascension. When we go to the southern Moon Valley to fight against the weird, can we have a greater sure, and it can also reduce everyone's casualties as much as possible to retain our strength in the Kanglan region. For 10 prepare for the domain big than. Quote. Zhao Yu's eyes were very meaningful, and finally he said, everyone, the opportunity needs everyone to fight for. Are you really willing to waste your life in the martial state? I have been in the Guanli state for a full 10 years. I don't want to continue to waste time in vain. When everyone saw the look in Zhao Yu's eyes, they felt a bit clear in their hearts. What? Ascension defeats the weird grasp, reduces the casualties of everyone in the Kanglan region, and retains the strength of the Kanglan region. All are just a cover. Zhao Yu's meaning is to let everyone use this matter of sending troops to the southern Moon Valley to fight against the weird army, find their own sect leader, and find an opportunity for everyone to enter the land of extreme fire. Now everyone finally understood why Zhao Yu would tell them so much. It is nothing more than trying to use the people's mouth to let the various sects put pressure on the Purity Palace, and let the Purity Palace open up an opportunity for them to enter the land of extreme flames. Everyone wondered to themselves the feasibility of this matter, and found that they might be really sure about it. As long as they can speak to their own sect leader, 100 forces will come forward to occupy the strength of Ascension's Kanglan region. In order to make Kanglan region's righteousness in winning the 10 regions competition, Purity Palace is very likely to compromise. After all, the 10 territory grand competition is a competition between the various regions, not a matter of different schools. If he wants to win the grand competition, he also needs the help of their various sects. Thinking of this, everyone's hearts are also a little hot. Standing on the side, Renguan and Hengqing, who were discussing how to harvest more resources in the southern Moon Valley, were not as happy as everyone else. Renguan frowned slightly, wondering, this Zhao Yu has been preaching about the weird and fragile southern Moon Valley region and the great opportunity in the extremely hot land, what exactly he intends to do. He really didn't know the real situation, or did he deliberately? Quote. Renguan looked at Zhao Yu in the crowd, a haze flashed in his eyes. 53%. Chapter 140th 50 million spirit stones obtained. In the Great Hall. The sect leaders of each case stood up and said goodbye. Leader Li, if there is nothing else, I will go back and prepare to send troops first. I will say goodbye when I wait, and I will wait to see you in Chungping County in 7 days. Li Fan nodded, smiled and sent everyone out of the Great Hall. Everyone in the hall left, and even Shu Lian, who had come from the southern Moon Valley, was taken to the guest room to rest by the people who arranged for the Qingjing Palace by Ji Ning. In the Great Hall at this moment, only Ji Ning and Li Fan sat quietly. Li Sect Leader, you are really beyond my expectations. I didn't expect that Li Sect Leader quietly solved a major crisis for us in the Kanglan domain. Ji Ning looked at Li Fan with deep meaning in his eyes. Sighed. Li Fan picked up the teacup and took a sip of tea, and said, it was just a coincidence at the beginning. It's not a big deal. If Sect Leader Ji had encountered those weird things in the Kanglan domain, he would not stand by. Ji Ning smiled and ignored him. Happen. Ghosts believe. Your Qian Yuanzong is tens of thousands of miles away from the Redridge Stone Forest in the southeast of the Kanglan region. How can it happen that you happened to go to the Redridge Stone Forest so far and then discovered those weird things? As for what Li Fan said was just to find the refining materials over there, he didn't believe it. But since he didn't see Li Fan take the initiative to say the specific reason, he naturally wouldn't take the liberty to inquire about Li Fan's secrets. No way. Originally he only thought that Li Fan was at best a cultivator of the Taoist realm with good strength, or at best a cultivator of the light realm. But now Li Fan has made him more and more unable to see through. There is a mysterious color shrouded in this person, so that he can't see the real strength and whole cards. Ji Ning cleverly shifted the topic, and soon talked about Li Fan's help to clear the palace. Li Sect Leader, oh, it's not the leader of Li. This time I am grateful to the leader for clearing the siege of the Palace of Purity for me to allow this parliament to proceed normally. Otherwise, the assembly of 100 sects will become a controversy against my Purity Palace. NS. Those people have long seen my Purity Palace not pleasing to their eyes. If there is no help from the leader, this time they will tear off a piece of flesh from my purity palace. Quote. Ji Ning flipped his hand and took out a lavender storage bag and handed it to Li Fan. Leader Li, this is a little bit of my heart, please accept it. Li Fan did not appear to be fake, and directly accepted the storage bag that Ji Ning handed over. This was something that Ji Ning had discussed with him before, and there was nothing to say. Take people's money and help them eliminate disasters, he knows this well. Picking up the money, Li Fan felt a clear conscience. He opened the storage bag and glanced. The hill-shaped spirit stones were piled in the storage bag space, and there were hundreds of bottles of medicine pill neatly placed beside the spirit stones mountain. Ding! Congratulations to Sect leader for gaining a 100-fold increase and earning 50 million spirit stones. Ding! Congratulations to Sect leader for gaining a 100-fold increase and obtaining 10,009 rank strengthening pills. Ding! Congratulations to Sect leader for gaining a 100-fold increase and obtaining 10,000 pieces of the 8th stage Qi Yuan Dan. Ding! Congratulations to Sect leader for gaining a 100-fold increase and obtaining 10,000 pieces of 7th stage medicine pill 100 turn Qi replenishing pill. There are a lot of people, from the auxiliary medicine pill for the practice of refining body to the auxiliary medicine pill for the practice of Tongchao. Ji Ning gave him as many as 100 medicine pills for his realm practice, totaling 500 in total. After his 100-fold increase system increase, each realm's practice medicine pill has reached 10,000, which is not a small resource for Li Fan. Now he has few disciples under Qianyuan sect, and these medicine pills are naturally of no great effect to his current more than 300 disciples. But don't forget, he has already established a teleportation formation leading to Qianyuanzong in Kirin City. After he returns, he can send his disciples to Kirin City through the teleportation formation and open the mountain gate to recruit disciples. With a large number of new entry disciples entering Qian Yuanzong, with so many medicine pill resources, the path of these disciples' cultivation will be smooth sailing, and their progress will be extremely fast. With these resources, it won't be long before Qian Yuanzong can cultivate a group of disciples above the dirt-raising realm, and Qian Yuanzong's overall strength will further truly be worthy of the 5th rank sect. Not to mention the 50 million spirit stones obtained after a 100-fold increase. Li Fan has a 100-fold multiplier system even from the start of his practice, and he has no shortage of practice resources. When others are still worrying about a few spirit stones, he already has thousands of spirit stone sweeping system auctions in his hands. Okay. But it is really the first time Li Fan has seen so many spirit stones, 50 million, and this is only the first. After he and the Purity Palace have explored the extreme fire together, he will be able to harvest another 300,000 spirit stones, which is an increase of 30 million. Li Fan couldn't stop smiling, and he was taken aback to show Ji Ning next to him. This Li sect leader, as the 5th rank sect leader and Dao cultivator, how happy he became like this after receiving the storage bag. Only 500,000 spirit stones, for their 6th rank sect, which is the tax revenue of Kirin City for a few years. There are only 500 medicine pills, but he knows that Li Fan is now recruiting a large number of new disciples in order to close the relationship. Quote. Ji Ning was a little confused, and said in his heart, he must have felt the sincerity of my purification palace, so he is so happy. It should be like this, really good. It seems that this thigh is held firmly. Li Fan knew that he had lost his temper, so he quickly put away his laughter, and chatted with his rich man Ji Ning. Such a rich man must maintain a good relationship. This is the thigh. Since Li Fan came to this world, he has been exploring the functions of the 2 systems he carries. Among them, the National Sect Leader System is a system that all Blue Star humans are bound together, and its function is mainly set up for the convenience of everyone to develop the strength of Sect and Ascension Sect. And it seems that the functions are not all unlocked, but they are gradually unlocked with the development of the players brought by the system step by step. It's like the mysterious Starry Sky Palace where merits can be exchanged for treasures, the heavenly climbing tower that makes players dying, and some new functional buildings in Sect that are slowly unlocked with the Sect Grade Ascension. It's like the Naling array that he obtained when Qian Yuanzong was promoted to the 5th rank, which can be incorporated into the spirit veins to be able to concentrate on Ascension Sect spiritual Qi. In addition, the previously unlocked spirit field is also very helpful to him, which can accelerate the maturity of the elixir planted in Sect. By the way, there is also the 10,000 Beast Pavilion that Li Fan has never used. Because Li Fan has been busy recently and didn't find time to study this building, she put it on hold. However, in Li Fan's view, this system unlocking function has no junk function. After waiting for a while, the matter in the southern Moon Valley region was resolved, and he was ready to study this 10,000 beast pavilion. Ready to study this 10,000 beast pavilion. Ready to study this 10,000 beast